And finally, we are live after, secular wars that took like 4 hours. We're live, everyone. Hello, I'm Christian with Cryptic Hybrid. Welcome to today's special. It's kind of a special item. It's a new developer interview, and here with me I have Ben from Suzaku, and we're gonna talk about his project, Project Sense, game that's right now on Kickstarter. Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you, everybody, for watching.
Yes, hello, hi.
Yeah, as he said, I'm Benjamin Widdowson. I'm the creator of Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story, and the founder of Suzaku, which is my new game studio. This is my first game.
Founder and CEO. And CFO.
I guess I'm a CEO, maybe, sort of. I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, sure. I'm
CTO,
I like
Chief
it.
Creative? Oh, you're definitely Chief Creative Officer, right?
Yeah, something like that. Something along those lines. Because it's very free form. It's just me and my fiance and partner at the moment. So if with good luck and a successful Kickstarter, we'll be able to hire more people. But yeah, I guess I am the CEO. I like it. Don't tell my fiance that I said I'm the CEO, because she'll probably disagree. But
well, you can be co-CEOs. There are plenty of companies who have that. Suzaku it operates right now like TSMC, the Taiwanese fab company. So they have co-CEOs. So it's kind of that thing. So it's fine. Yeah, they're fine. They're just multi-billion-dollar. You'll get there. You just give it a little bit of time. And in order to get there, of course, you have to finish this game. And what is this game? Come on, tell me about Sense. Just elevator pitch, or just sell everyone on it. Why should they love Project Sense and want it?
Okay, so Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story, is it's a 2D adventure game. That is heavily inspired by Clock Tower and the Fatal Frame series, and we're taking a lot of visual cues from things like Masamune Shiro's Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, and the idea is you play Meilin Mak, who is a young programmer living in Neo Hong Kong, who gets pulled into a ghost story that has been waiting 100 years for her to arrive. And I don't want to tell much more than that. It's so much of the story relies on you solving a mystery and finding out why May is pulled into this ghost story, and how. That if I told you any more than that, it would ruin the game. So yeah,
and you would have to kill us.
Isn't
that how it works?
I will neither confirm nor deny that I would have to kill you. You'll have to wonder.
Okay, so
it's yet another mystery.
yeah, see, exactly, another mystery on top of that. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you got to start making the game, and why exactly you want to make a cyberpunk adventure game.
Sure. So I'm a concept artist by trade. I've been working in the industry realistically for about 6 years, and then honestly for about 9. I got my first studio gig with a company called Daily Magic Productions back in 2013. Yeah, 2013. And before and after that, I've just been doing freelance and contract work. And for Daily Magic, I was the sole and the lead concept artist, but pretty much the only one, and the narrative designer for a lot of their hidden object games that were done through Big Fish. So every concept artist, I don't know a single concept artist who doesn't have their own IP that they're working on, as their own little thing. And mine is called the Shirotech Universe, and it's very heavily inspired by Masamune Shiro, who's basically my hero. He's my art Jesus, and a lot of his stuff kind of really heavily influenced the art that I do on my personal level, and even professionally. So I created this big world about 5 or 6 years ago, and started fleshing it out and mapping it out and doing a bunch of different character concepts and sketches for items and world building kind of stuff. And about 4 years ago, I started writing Sense. And Sense, I always knew it was going to be based on a true ghost story and real event that happened where I was living at the time. And my Japanophilia and weebness moved the true story into being kind of redone into a Tokyo setting. And as a huge fan of Masamune Shirow, of course that meant, it had to be cyberpunk. It had to be this futuristic aesthetic with, the neon lights everywhere and that kind of stuff, and sexy girls, of course. And things kind of shifted over the course of years until about 6 months ago, when I was laid off from more or less laid off. There was no more work at the contract that I had, and
you consciously decoupled.
Yes. That's
what was the line from Gwyneth Paltrow? We consciously decoupled, something like that.
Yeah. I don't want it to sound like I'm disparaging Daily Magic. I love the people there. The CEO Mariana is an amazing person and friend. So it definitely wasn't a negative leaving. It wasn't like a firing or anything like that. It was just there was no more work. It was nothing for me to do. I take it as I'd done so good that they didn't need me anymore. They were like, we're good, thanks. So it was time to leave, and I think from a self-reflection point of view, it was probably time to leave anyway. It was time to move forward and do something different, or stop being in that same, I don't want to call it a rut, but everybody gets into their cycle that they're just kind of in, and I think it was time for me to shake things up myself. And after about 3 days of telling myself that, it changed to complaining about the fact that I couldn't find a job for about 2 months, and 2 months of job, of sending applications out and doing my portfolio, and I got one job interview and didn't get another one, and did a couple art tests and stuff like that. And my girlfriend, who is now my fiance, she finally told me to shut up and to make this game that I've been telling her about for 3 years since we got together. And that game was Sense. And when she told me, seriously do it, there was a lot of push on that. And we decided to take a couple nights in a row, stay up all night, and rewrite the story to be as perfect as I think it's going to get. And that involved her being from Hong Kong. That involved us taking a look at, she asked me very bluntly, why Japan? And because my only answer was because I'm a Japanophile and I like Japanese stuff, and I love Japanese ghost stories, especially the old Kwaidan and Lafcadio Hearn stuff. I didn't have a real good answer for why Japan, especially for why I was transforming this true story into a place it doesn't belong in. It didn't happen in. And we decided to move it closer to Chinese stuff, and Hong Kong has such a rich culture of its own that I got really fascinated by it, and not just because she and I were dating, but just because of the things she explained from the Hong Kong perspective. And I was like, oh my god, this is perfect, this is going to work. So started pulling a lot of that stuff in and rewrote it, and it became its own new unique thing. And so at that point, the Shirotech universe, the thing I'd been writing for 6 years, all of a sudden had this this is it. This is the game it's going to start on. This is where it's all going to begin. And it was a very exciting thing. 1 second, my dog is barking.
Okay, so while the dog, poor dogs. I mean,
yes,
they're not. They're a little upset. We've had this issue, me and Ben were talking earlier, and the dogs were very, very upset because they didn't get any word in, and it's how some animals are. Exactly, they're very needy. They're not cats, so they're not as needy as cats, so that's a good thing for anyone who wants cats. But they always want to get in on the conversation. One thing that I wanted to ask you, since you said that you had this big shift in terms of location, which is, from my perspective, right, pretty huge. Going from Tokyo to Hong Kong, very different place. It's a big change, right? Is there any other change from the original concept of the Shiro Tech universe that you've made recently?
I think I'm losing you. Can you say it again?
Oh, sorry. Did you make any other major changes to the original concept of the Shiro Tech universe, recently? Besides the location change?
As I was kind of fleshing this stuff out, so when I started, like, there's literally like hundreds of pages of notes and stuff on this universe that I've created, from like everything from actual concept art to just little tiny scribbles of like, this happens at this point, so when I was writing the revised version of Sense a few months ago, when I started making the game, I had to go back into that timeline and restructure some things and be like, okay, this would work this way. And one of the important aspects of that universe I've created is that I'm a bit of a politics or geopolitics and history nerd. So I wanted to make sure that everything that happens in the Shiro Tech universe is something that will logically happen. It's nothing, I didn't want to do some weird off the wall, like, Tahiti becomes a world power kind of BS. I wanted it to be like a logical step, a logical progression where, you have this fantasy, this over the top frame that a realistic geopolitical move could happen within. And, so when I restructured and moved everything from Tokyo to Neo Hong Kong, I was like, okay, well, why would Neo Hong Kong exist? Where would it exist? What would it be? So I had to take a lot of the stuff that happens in the East Asia in the Shiro Tech universe at this specific time, and I had to be like, okay, here's how Neo Hong Kong fits into all this, and here's what it works. Because at a couple years ago, I hadn't even thought of that. It was just like, this is stuff that's happening over here, and I had little bits and pieces of like a larger world, like Russia does this on this date kind of thing, but I didn't think as deeply about a specific nation thing that was happening, at this particular date and why it would happen. So making Sense meant I had to flesh out a lot of stuff that I wasn't thinking about, and it actually led to making the story within Sense that much deeper and adding a lot of backstory and lore and stuff that you'll be able to experience in the final game. Like, you'll see why these characters are reacting to these certain things. You'll see, one NPC might say something that's very intrinsic to a specific thing that's happening somewhere or happened somewhere. May herself is a product of a major event within the world of Shiro Tech, and her story wouldn't have happened at all without this major thing that happened that I didn't think about until having to reorganize the Shiro Tech universe.
Hello. First of all, I just want to say hello to Effie. She's in the chat. So, would you say that? Okay, two questions about all this. First of all, in Sense, 2083, right? 2083. So, yes. 60 years in the future. Is Kim Jong-un still the head of North Korea?
So 60 years, I hadn't thought of him particularly. North.
I mean, he's kind of a big thing now. So
yeah, no, I would say he's dead, but North Korea is definitely a player. They're there, and it's without going too deep into it and getting like really tinfoil hatty. China, North Korea, and a couple other nations in East Asia merged together into a communist superstate. And so North Korea is more like a state within this communist China, right? Where they're not like an individual nation anymore. So there was that aspect of it. I was like, okay, well, what North Korea is nuts. So what are they going to do? And so yeah, North Korea I did think about, but I didn't think about Kim Jong-un himself. I was like, but yeah, I would say that given his body mass, he's probably not going to last 60 years. And then also given his attitude, probably. I don't think he's going to last 20. So yeah, I would say if he doesn't get assassinated, I would put my money on like a heart attack. Heart failure, some kind of thing that happens to people who are morbidly obese.
Yeah,
But I could be wrong.
he's
He might
way
be like
out
his
there.
dad and just never die.
Well, his dad was small. He wasn't that big. I mean,
Yeah, he was just a
Kim
chubby
Jong Un
little
is really, yeah. Well, another thing that I want to ask. So, since you've made this location change, could you say that it's more of an expansion of the Shirotech universe, and would we potentially, see other games after Sense that
that's absolutely
let's
the
say
goal,
take
yeah.
place? Yeah, like would those games also cover maybe other areas, like maybe other areas of China or Japan or South Korea or something like that, or would you
Oh, yeah.
focus on Neo Hong Kong?
No. So since this first story is intrinsic to Neo Hong Kong for that specific reason, I don't want to give too much away, but I've already started writing the sequel to Sense, regardless of whether or not we get Kickstarter funding.
Mhm.
I want to at least have all these games written, so when a day comes that I can make them, I will. The idea is still very very much that this is a huge world, and there are interconnected events, and there's events that are completely unique. And there are several things that I want to do in this universe, because that's how I ended up writing the whole universe, was based around specific events. So there's one that takes place in Texas. It's a cyberpunk world. So around this time frame, everything is going to be cyberpunk, right? But I wanted to focus on doing new things with cyberpunk, as opposed to the anarcho-capitalist or anarcho-communist stuff of like, oh man, here's the guy fighting the corporations, man, and it's those corporations that own the government, man. I wanted to do something a little different. So I have the one that takes place in Texas is for all intents and purposes it's a western. It's a cyberpunk western, and it's just a retelling of Yojimbo,
Right.
A Fistful of Dollars, those classic spaghetti western movies, but then done in a cyberpunk aesthetic. So another one I have is a full-on military, like CIA Black Ops kind of thing, and that one was written more as a comic book. But I actually the other day was like just kind of spitballing some stuff and was like, hey, that would be really fun if I did it like this game. And I don't want to say anything about it yet because it's down the pipe. It's down the pipe. But Sense is the important thing. But yeah, there's long story short, there's a bunch of stuff happening.
And is Sense chronologically, at least, the player's entry point to the whole universe you're creating, or would you go? Or are there events that you would go back in time to experience, either in Sense or something?
So even within Sense, if we manage to hit our stretch goals for the extra chapters, the two extra chapters take place. There's a prequel chapter and an epilogue chapter, and the prequel takes place. It's a key portion of the story that takes place in 1970. I think I said 73. I forget which year. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. It takes place in the 1970s, and it's actually like a key piece of the story that you'll find out about it throughout the main game, whether or not we hit that stretch goal or not. But if we get the stretch goal, you'll actually be able to play that portion. So that won't be cyberpunk. That'll just be a 1970s thing. That's just very realistic. And then the epilogue chapter will be taking place about 6 months to a year later, that will explain like the aftermath of what happens, and then continue the story so that the sequel has a setup. So there is a lot of stuff like that, and then the spaghetti western game that I want to do is that takes place pretty much the same time. I haven't really mapped it out to a specific month or anything, but it's the same year that Sense happens in. And then the CIA Black Ops kind of thing, that's like 20 years after Sense. So yeah, there's the events jump all across the timeline. There's all kinds of stuff happening, and they very much so feed into each other and explain each other, and also set up the world of Shirotech, which one thing that's hyper important to me is that the supernatural exists in this world. It's not it's not something much like our real world. Like most people don't believe in it, but it actually does exist. So it's there's no more of that thing of science has explained away all these things and they don't exist because we're all science bros now. Like it's very strictly a thing of, hey, this is realistic, this can happen. So
is it more in the mainstream though, compared to, let's say, today, the supernatural element?
I would say it's exactly like today. Because nobody, until you have widely circulated proof of ghosts, no one's gonna believe in ghosts, right? Like, so it's one of those things where I think it's always going to be like it is today. I've had some personal experiences. I'm 100% a believer in the supernatural, and particularly with spiritual supernatural. I don't believe in aliens yet, but or Bigfoot. But ghosts, I'm like 100% believer. I've had some stuff happen in my life.
Okay, but what about the flat Earth? I mean,
Earth is flat, man. We're a giant floating disc in the
you
sky.
heard it here. Giant disc and like a wall of ice around. That's amazing. But wait, so more supernatural, but it's still kind of low key in terms of
it's still low key and
exposure.
It's because that's the thing. Usually when you have sci-fi, it's like there's always some hyper scientific explanation for it instead of it being a supernatural thing. Like for me, I think things can go beyond science, and there might be a scientific explanation for ghosts, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes you don't need a firm explanation of something to have it affect you or to have it exist, right? Things just exist sometimes, and you just go, okay. Like there's no need to be like, well, actually, if you take the the carbon level in the air and like that, you don't need all that. And a lot of sci-fi movies tend to over-explain things for the sake of sounding sci-fi or sounding intelligent, and I don't think that's necessary all the time. Like for Sense, the ghosts very much so appear as glitches and video errors that are happening with her cybernetic eyes, with May's cybernetic eyes. And I wanted to have that. In a way, it's kind of a middle finger to typical sci-fi writing of going like, there's obviously an explanation for this. There's obviously this thing where the ghosts are actually some kind of computer virus infecting her. It's not that. So if you're thinking that's it, it's not that. These are very much so real spirits, and it's just how she experiences them because through the lens of having literally a lens for an eye. And I wanted to find a way to make this unique thing and ask some new questions about what would happen if you have these cybernetic implants, and what would happen with cyberization. If we replace our bodies with robot bodies in 100 years, what happens consciously to us? And just because we can do all these things, and just because science has moved this far, does that mean that the same things that are happening in a haunted house in the middle of nowhere aren't happening anymore? Are they like the Peter Pan fairies where you have to believe for them to have any power? It's like I don't believe that. I don't think that's how it works. So that was always a big point of this story for me, was a lot of psychological questions, and it was stuff I'm asking myself. I don't really have answers. I'm not a psychologist. I listen to Jordan Peterson's rants a lot, or not rants, his lectures a lot.
I can't believe you called them rants.
Well, they're ranty, and
he's a professor.
Yeah, I'm so used to calling YouTubers like they rant, But his lectures are brilliant, and I actually started, because of him. I started reading basically everyone he said to read. I was like, okay, I'll do that, and it helped feed into this thing where I was stuff I can't. It's way beyond. Like I'm a smart guy, I think, but I'm not that smart. Some of this stuff is like they could be telling me anything, and I would just have to believe it because they're so smart. I'm like, okay, Jordan Peterson's a brilliant guy. If he says the sky is blue, like orange, I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, I'm sure he has a reason to believe that. Sure, I'm not gonna believe it just because he says so, but it's like he's smarter than me.
Well, that's usually a good thing. You see someone who's smart, right? And they say something, right? And it doesn't have, you don't have to automatically believe them, but if it makes you think about the aspect of what they're saying,
it's like
you know, you reach your own conclusions. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have to have the answer personally to be like, oh, that's really interesting. You know, I can't understand half the stuff that Nietzsche wrote. There's things I think I understand, and I'm gonna be like, ooh, that's interesting. I think I came up with like an answer to that question. But it doesn't mean I'm anywhere near correct. It just means I can kind of take my own spin on it, right? So Sense was that kind of exercise for me of questioning a lot of these like transhumanist ideas and stuff like that, and things that I believe and say, well, where are all these concepts going to go when we have the singularity, or when we reach this point technologically? You know, what happens after that? You know, does a show that I love like Ghost Adventures suddenly stop existing because everybody goes, that's retarded? You know, we have flying cars now. Ghosts are stupid. Like, it's just, that never connected to me why that would stop happening. And I think it would actually be to our detriment as let's say the Western culture, the Western world, and even the Eastern world, like the modern world. You know, it would be a detriment to lose these spiritual and supernatural connections. Because they kind of define a lot of humanity in very weird ways. You know, we do things like bury our dead in a respectful manner because of supernatural and spiritual connections. We don't do it for science. Like, scientifically, there's no reason to keep a body around, right? There's no reason to put it in the ground. It doesn't do anything. It's not like we spend what, $3,000 on a coffin to put somebody in the ground with. That's kind of ridiculous, right? We do it because we have this emotional connection to this concept, this spiritualism, and to me, it doesn't make sense that science would just do
and
away
to the
with
person.
Those. Yeah, it was a person.
It
is a person.
If you look, like, if you ask science, right, science will tell you, oh, this is a corpse, it's going to decompose, it means nothing, right?
Yeah.
But for you, a member of the family, no, this was a real person, it existed. He, she did this during their life. So humans don't discard that, and I think that's a good thing. Science would discard, you know, someone's achievements when they're gone. It's like, okay, he's done this, but he's a corpse now. The body doesn't mean anything anymore. But for you, who you're close to that person, it can still mean a lot, and you still want to maybe go to a place where, you know, you can talk to them or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, and to even go like deeper into this issue, when you have a world where, you know, cyberization is a thing, where prosthesis is like a thing people that a lot of people have. You know, if somebody decides, one of the rich people decides they want to replace their entire body with a robotic body, do they just throw away their body? So it's like, what becomes of that? What, you know, not necessarily I think becomes of their body, but I mean, like, when the culture in this world shifts to that, you know, it has to have some kind of ramifications on people in general, because you have to be willing to do that, right? You have to be willing to ascribe nothingness to your body and say, like, this doesn't matter because I have this shiny plastic version that I'm going to buy. So it's like, there was so much stuff as I was writing this that I was like, I had to ask these really weird questions I'd never thought of before, and I was like, oh, okay. And I know in the concept demo, it doesn't come out. It doesn't come out there yet. It's stuff that's being carefully like written because it needs to make sense, and it needs to be not like, it can't be like playing a Jordan Peterson lecture. So I understand, like, so the proof of concept demo is very much so like, here's the atmosphere, here's the world, this is what I want you to kind of get the feel of, but where the main game will actually have a much deeper, not, again, it won't be a Jordan Peterson lecture, but it will be deeper. It'll be a lot more like, hey, yeah, I'm already about 70% through the script for the entire game, so it's like there's a lot more questions being asked and things to think about that are
yeah.
You know.
So for anyone playing the tech demo, which again, it's available for, I don't know why I say again, it is available for Windows and Mac, I believe. itch.io, link in the description. We do know that Maylin, the main character, has cybernetic eyes, but in the tech demo you see very small glimpse of her and her enhancements. So just if those don't play a specific role in the tech demo, just wait for the full game. Basically, that's the idea. Because and going off that, in the world, right, in Neo Hong Kong, and when it comes to enhancement and cybernetics in general, is the world accepting of them? Is it like a class thing? Where where are these enhancements like in terms of are they mainstream? Only rich people get them? Is it for accidents? Is it for everything? Is it cosmetic? Is it like crazy and everyone can get them? How's the cybernetic market in 2083?
Yeah, so it's actually kind of broken up a little bit. So in 2083 we're about to enter World War IV, World War III, and then there's been a nuclear world war, and then there's been regular world wars, and they don't count them on the same number scale, right? So it's like World War III is if you count the nuclear world war, it would be World War IV, and then World War IV would be World War V. So due to all the destruction of these two massive world wars within a very short period of time, a large majority of particularly males were injured and have prosthesis. And Shirotech, the reason why the whole universe is called Shirotech is because the guy Shiro who created the technology for the prosthesis, they came in at such an important time that they blew up and became this massive corporation that just owns so much stuff because they could. They provided technology that was needed for veterans and for also like victims of war, like just the regular civilians. So initially the only people that had any kind of prosthesis were veterans who served and came back home, and then you had like I said, the victims of warfare. So an average person wouldn't be able to have it. But in 2083, as you're gearing up for World War IV, you're starting to have the higher classes be able to get these augments just for cosmetic effect. But you have to be very, very wealthy to afford them. So 90% of the people that you see in the game are either some kind of weird, fluke accident, or had something happen to them where Shirotech donated the prosthesis, or they were a veteran of the wars. So it's literally everybody in the game right now that has a prosthesis is a veteran except for May, and that was carefully written.
Oh, she's had an accident.
That's all I'll say for now. Yes, something. Yes, yeah, okay. She has it, and she's very. I'll give one little narrative hint. She has a very unique case. She's completely unique to the world with her augments. So, it's a special thing with her. But everybody else, other than her, that has any kind of robotic arm or leg is a veteran, and then you kind of see it in the bar scene. There's several people in there with augments, including the bartender, and then there is the busboy, and the busboy is covered in burns, like all over his face and neck, and he just had like a normal person's accident, right? So like he's not rich, he lives in slums.
Nobody sponsored him, yeah.
Nobody sponsored him. He's not a veteran, so he doesn't get the cool fancy stuff. So there's I'm working on better ways to show these kind of things and be more in depth, and I think that was what some of the critique I've gotten has been that the writing isn't strong enough. And like we said, this is a proof of concept tech demo, but it was good feedback because it made me kind of rethink how I was showing things. I'm very much a believer in the show don't tell rule of narrative, where I go, okay, I want you to think about the things you're looking at and like actually pay attention to stuff. But at the same time, if I don't point you in a direction a little bit, you sometimes miss things, or it's not as obvious. So that's I gave a little bit of a couple secrets, a couple narrative secrets for you guys.
That's always good. Always good to have a few of those lying around, because who knows. Can you tell me about how text heavy, right? How much dialogue, how much interaction with other characters will there be in Sense, and is Sense Mei Lin's story, or is it something else and she's just a part of something bigger?
Okay, this one's difficult because it could be put both ways. It is Mei Lin's story. She is the protagonist, the main character.
The only
you're
one?
Seeing it, yeah. She in well, technically I like I mentioned about the part of the game that takes place in the 1970s. That will be a different character who's connected to Mei in some way. So Mei, for all intents and purposes, Mei is the only main character in the game. However, she is a piece of the story. The story doesn't revolve around her. She's kind of a victim of circumstance. She stumbles upon it, but she is connected to it in a very deep way. But it doesn't revolve around her. So she's
not the chosen. She's not Neo. She's not Keanu.
Absolutely not. No. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time at the wrong month. Basically, it's like she matters, and she does have a specific connection to the ghost story at hand. And it, like, this event wouldn't happen without her being there. But it's not like a chosen one thing. It's not. It's definitely not like a. I didn't write the story of Sense to be a vehicle for Mei. I wrote the story of Sense, and then Mei is a character in it. Is probably the best way to put it.
Okay, so her let's say journey in Sense, where is it going to take her, and what is she going to see along the way? Like, is there going to be a lot of interaction with regular characters, or do we have like an antagonist?
So there is sort of an antagonist. Well, yeah, I guess you could call it. You could call it an antagonist, like any, like to use, because Fatal Frame was such an inspiration. I'll use that as the example. Like, if you've ever played the Fatal Frame games, there's like the one ghost that's like the main ghost. So yeah, there is an antagonist to a degree, but like the explanation of how Mei fits into the story, it's not that she's an antagonist. It's that this main spirit has a reasoning and a goal, and Mei is almost like a means to that goal, as opposed to like the reason for it. So you have seen the antagonist. It's the one with the white Changsam, the one that appears in the street in the cutscene. She is the main antagonist, if you could call her that. The story revolves. I guess you could say that ghost is more the main character than anyone else.
Interesting. So it's like, and Mei is just the poor tool that may be used by this ghost.
Kind of, yeah. She gets dragged into it, and she's like, it's just a bad day. It's just a very bad day. So, Mei. The bulk of the game takes place in a specific building, and it's a multi-story building. So there's each floor will have different things happening in it, and there's as the Kickstarter notes, there's 14 main spirits that you'll have to kind of contend with or work with in some way, and there will be some areas that are, I guess you could say, like technically outside of the building, but it's all attached to the building. So it's very much like the original Resident Evil, where everything takes place within or in the immediate outside of the Spencer Mansion until you get into that lab. It's it's all within this specific building. But I don't want anybody to think that like the cyberpunk world goes away once you're inside there. It will still be very very apparent. Even if it's just seeing that world through a window, there are places in the building that will be completely open, so you'll be able to actually go to the neighboring rooftop, or you'll have to, or maybe you go across a catwalk. And I'm trying to give hints without saying too much. So yeah, the cyberpunk world is not going to disappear in favor of like a little hallways, a bunch of crowded hallways. It's going to be very much a piece of the aesthetic, and you go a lot of places in this one building, and there's some trippy stuff that will happen. So that's pretty much the best way I can put that.
That sounds, that's very good. It's not. I was just thinking, because you said that about the building. Is it I don't know, like a hotel? Is it a residential building? What is it? What's the purpose of this specific?
It is an apartment building, and in the true story, it was not. There were apartments above the thing that like where the thing happened in the true story. Excuse me. Oh my God, sorry. But in this, it is just all a straight up apartment building, and something happens in this apartment building that causes the ghost story.
And is it like only ghosts that still reside in it, or are there actually people there, just living their lives, trying to lay low or
So
survive?
on the inside of the building, yes, it's only the spirits, but but there will be portions where you are outside that building, in the immediate area of it, where there will be more NPCs and stuff, and there's not a lie to say that there's only ghosts inside the building, but that's less than true. So I can't. There's so many specific
Mostly
things I want
ghosts.
to be like, oh my God, you can't wait! This so cool thing happens here, and then it would ruin the whole game for you. So yeah. So for the most part, yes. Just think of it as there's only ghosts inside the building for now.
And May can see them because of her eyes, is that her special thing, or are the ghosts just showing up, or not exactly showing up, but they're revealing themselves to her so they can interact? Maybe they need her help.
It's a little bit of all of that, actually. Without giving away too much, her cybernetic eyes.
She's not like she's not like a Sixth Sense all the way, I see dead people type of character.
You'll have to play the whole, and we'll have to get the game funded to find that out. Her cybernetic eyes do play a part, a key narrative part. And then there is actually a piece I can talk about. So in China and in Hong Kong, there is a thing called Ghost Month, and it's the seventh Moon Festival, and it's the seventh lunar event of the year is when this happens. It's always around August, September, and it's when the Chinese they burn offerings to dead family members to send the offerings to hell. And for some reason in Chinese spirituality, there's only a hell, and everybody just kind of goes to hell. It sounds as bad as it sounds, or it is as bad as it sounds.
It's awful.
It's terrible, yeah. So,
people.
But you burn these offerings to them, and they're so you can burn literally anything. They make cameras, like you can send a camera to hell for your cousin or whatever. You can send a shirt, and it's all made of paper. So in this seventh Moon Festival, that's when the gates of hell are kind of open and closest to our realm, our world. So Sense takes place during the seventh moon. It's like mid-September-ish in this, taking place in this game. It's a key detail that only people who know the Chinese cultural stuff will pick up, because I didn't want to just be like, boom, Ghost Festival, guys, it's Ghost Month. I didn't want to just throw that out in the middle of the road. I wanted people to kind of infer and learn some stuff. And then throughout the game, you'll learn about these cultural items and cultural concepts in different ways. So in the demo, the first thing is there's that offering that you give, and it's in that little it's like a red coffee can with incense in it, and that's like a very specific thing. And you'll have to forgive me. I don't remember the name, and my fiance will kill me for that. But you burn 3 incense for your loved ones or your past people, and then you can burn an offering in that same thing, and the incense, the smoke of the incense and the smoke of the burning thing carries it to heaven or hell. So I wanted to kind of show all these little cultural elements, and they're very, in a way, not just randomly to show them, because if you know I guess you call it the lore behind these cultural elements, it'll make certain things stand out and make more sense.
But do these elements, do they have a gameplay?
Yes,
thing attached to them? Like, do you have to, if you don't do that, if you don't burn the incense, if you don't have an offering, is that going to have a impact on the story, or? Well,
so for the tech demo, no. The tech demo right now, the way the tech demo works. Yeah, so for the whole game, everything works on a chain of interaction. So it's essentially like, in order to do X, you have to do Y, and in order to do Y, you have to do Z. So it's a chain of interaction kind of thing. And I got that by doing like game docs for the Hoppa games, where everything has to be like, you need this item to use it here, to get this item to use it there, to So I kind of took what I know and put it in here. But in terms of a narrative or like a key gameplay element, there actually there will be a cultural a big piece of it, that because you can't fight the ghosts. That's one thing I wanted to be very strict on. Unlike Fatal Frame, you don't have a camera to capture the ghosts with, and you can't fight them. You can't make them go away. You basically have to find out their story and get away from them.
Okay, wait. One second. Sorry, I'm second. Wait, 1 second. Sorry, but it's an adventure game. Aren't you supposed to make like a ghost repellent device with a coffee can, some chewing gum, and I don't know, like a old recorder, like your MacGyver?
Of course, yeah. That's why I'm not doing it.
I
wanted to be different.
Because that's basically what you do in a lot of adventure games, especially like the old 90s ones. Like, you get a bunch of stuff and you combine them in totally absurd ways that make no sense, and then you have the device to help you progress in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's not it.
It's always completely random BS that doesn't make sense. So I wanted everything. Yeah. I wanted everything dealing with the ghosts to actually have a cultural impact, a real, like, be something that actually you would do. So again, there was a lot I'm doing and have done a lot of research into, particularly Cantonese myth, because especially now that China has basically taken over Hong Kong once the British left, a lot of people don't know that they're very different countries. I'll put it this way, and I hope nobody's offended by it, because I've been to Hong Kong twice now. I've gone last year and this year, and I've been to China multiple times on this past trip, which I just got back from. China, I hate. I really dislike China, mainland.
Okay,
and that's like
maybe don't mainland. Use that.
Yeah. Okay. I really dislike with a strong amount of energy. I really dislike China, mainland China, but I really love.
You don't like smog?
I don't like smog. I don't like the culture. I don't like. I don't like the communism. Yeah, it's communism. I don't like that when I spend money in China.
Don't say it. You're in California. Don't say you don't like communism.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like the helicopter. I can hear the helicopter coming for me now. I don't. The cultural stuff there, and by cultural stuff I do mean like the ancient cultural things. It's very similar. They come from the same basis, right? But there's something more unique, and I guess you could call it gritty. There's something more interesting about the Hong Kong version of all the same things. Like you've probably seen the Chinese hopping ghost, like from Overwatch May's costume for Halloween this past year was called it's called a Jiangxi, and Jiangxi is, if I remember correctly, that's the Cantonese, the Hong Kong pronunciation of that name, and I really like the Cantonese version of that kind of ghost. It's a little more tongue in cheek, it's a little more goofy and over the top, but there's actually like a deep reason why they hop. There's like this really interesting stuff that is going on with those ghosts, and like how they're conjured and how they're supposed to be exorcised, and stuff that the Chinese cultural end is just kind of like eschewed and forgotten. They're just like, okay, this is an old thing, we don't care about it anymore. Whereas the Hong Kong traditional stuff, they kind of keep it alive in a very weird way. It's very strictly entertainment, but they still keep it alive. They still, like I said, they still do the Ghost Month stuff. You can go to almost any area in Hong Kong that's not like the hyper rich people area, and you can go and you can find a shop that's their only purpose of the shop is to sell offerings for Ghost Month, and they're open year round. So you can see all these things that still exist from the old days, the old Hong Kong. It's just really beautiful and exciting in this way, and it was something that I kind of fell in love with. I could get past how dirty Hong Kong is. It's a very dirty country, but I fell in love with it. It's just a very cool, unique culture.
I guess the density is the problem there, the
I think
density
it is that,
of people. I mean, how clean can something with how many millions of people? It's too much.
It's a ridiculous amount of people for how small that country is. Yeah, and then there also is a thing of my girlfriend explains it really well, because she grew up with a nanny. It's a nanny culture. Both parents typically have to work, so they hire maids and nannies. Like a lot of maids and nannies that are Pakistani and Filipino and from other countries. So they're. Yeah. She explains it as, and it could just be her excuse for why she never cleans anything. She says that because of the nanny and maid cultures, nobody knows how to clean, except for the maids and the nannies. And when the maids and the nannies aren't cleaning the house they're paid to clean for, they don't clean either. So it's like, it's a perfectly logical explanation. So it is a very dirty country, and once you can get past that, if you carry some Purell with you, you're good. But it's the weirdest thing in the world, because for how for my minor Asperger's and my need to be clean, I was like, the first time was hard. The second time I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. I can go shopping. I can go, have fun, go to 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. and grab a drink and not matter. The China, on the other hand, was its own monster. So, to bring back the culture elements, China lost a lot of its old culture stuff in favor of, and most of it, honestly, during
lost.
They literally buried
when it's when it's deliberate, it's not lost. It's you have to rewrite history when you want to make a system that is controlled top to bottom. And if you control top to bottom, then you have to control past, present, future. So it's happened everywhere. Well, where communism is. So that's unfortunate, but that's why probably one of the reasons why everything is lost. Because
and that's probably why exactly, and that's why most people don't know there's like an entire a world of difference between the two countries on a cultural level, being that they're from Hong Kong was basically just a Chinese penal colony. It wasn't like they were just Chinese people and the British came, and so it's like you have these very different things going on, and I think Hong Kong just did it better. Just kept things alive in a certain way, and that was what pushed me to just really dive into this stuff and be like, okay, I want to do this right. I want to make sure that there's a lot of elements that Cantonese people and Hong Kongers will be like, oh my god, that's this thing, and so it's been a very interesting process.
So you're saying this about how Hong Kong still has a lot of cultural elements that the Chinese don't anymore. Is Neo Hong Kong still in that way. Like the world around it has changed, obviously, with the World War and everything. But is Neo Hong Kong still a place where the old still exists?
Yeah, for the most, well, okay, in certain areas. So I looked at it very. I'm actually writing an update for our Kickstarter that's about this kind of concept too, and something I wrote in there was that, you know, part of believability is recognition, right? So the idea is, you know, if you go to any American city, there's a Chinatown, and in that Chinatown, it's Chinatown, right? And you know what Chinatown is when you hear that name. You know, you can go, okay, there's, you know, shops selling weird types of food that most Americans don't eat, or most, you know, Europeans don't eat. You know, things are done the Chinese way. And the interesting is Chinatowns are way closer to Hong Kong than actual China. So, in my experience anyway. So you have a lot of the pop-up, the tent stores and stuff like that. So within Neo Hong Kong, you know, because of the shifts in global politics and economies and stuff like that, it's almost like the true cultural elements got relegated to a Chinatown, even within their own country, right? So, you know, most of Neo Hong Kong is basically just New York City. It's just Times Square everywhere, and oddly enough, Hong Kong has a Times Square too. It's just, you know, hyper consumerist, capitalist. Good, and I like that. But the you know, you've got the Gucci store and the big brand name stuff. But then if you go to places like Sanshun Po, yeah,
Gucci spelled how exactly?
Like I don't know.
Is it like double? Is it like double GUCI or something?
Yeah,
I'm kidding, because there's a lot of how there's a lot of fakes. You know how they make a lot of fakes, like in China.
No, these are like
Adibas or Mikey.
It's not
like,
the real one.
That crap.
No, these are the real ones. Yeah. If you go to the fancy areas in Hong Kong, these are like, you know, you're talking the real stores, and people are brand name. I mean, brand is everything. That's what you know, my fiance has told me, is that to a lot of people, their brand is everything, because it shows your status, it shows who you are. So in the world of sense in 2083, not much has changed. It's just gotten worse. So the true Hong Kong has been relegated to the area where Mei Lin is in right now. Like the real meat and potatoes, the cultural stuff is now just only really happening in these tiny little slums, because it's where the people keep their culture alive. You know, they aren't concerned as much about getting the Gucci belt, or, you know, I don't know what Gucci makes. I'm sorry, but like whatever the Gucci thing is.
I think they make belts. Yeah,
belts and shoes and stuff, I'm sure. But the
probably smartphones already or something. They probably do some stuff like that.
It's like whatever rich people buy. I've never been one, so I'm not sure. It's like
iPhone 10s. I don't know.
Like children. I'm sure they sell children there. I know. Designer babies. Yeah, so all those cultural elements are now, you know, in a small area, and May happens to be in the one that's like the area, you know.
Is that why she dresses like that? Because her style is a little how should I say, slut walk, like well, 2017.
Believe it or not, that was intentional. So the coat. The oversized raincoat was something I knew I wanted her to have to begin with, because because I have to go into some deep explain in here. So because of her cybernetic eyes, May is functionally autistic. When I started thinking about how cybernetic eyes would work, the only thing that I could come up with, with my stupid artist brain was that you'd basically be getting streams of data that a computer chip that somehow plugs into your brain has to translate into brain language, you know, into your, what do they call it? Like neurology, right? It has
impulses, I guess.
Impulses.
Yeah, well, it's electrical impulses. Yeah.
So she sees like we see, you know, she'll see the TV in front of her or the poster like we're watching right now, but to her it's strings of data. So she only sees poster, and she'll read the words on the poster, and she can see the image, but it's separated things. So she's autistic in the definitional sense. so for her, that means, because she's a programmer and because she does all this stuff, she's actually kind of like a NEET. She lives with her sister, which is a secret I shouldn't have said. Fuck. Okay, so she lives with her sister. Everybody knows she has a sister now.
Too late.
She and at her sister.
Is her sister hot as her? Like, sorry.
Absolutely, of course, probably hotter. So the idea is that because she's so tired of being the weird quiet girl at her office that she just programs and goes home and watches anime or whatever, right? She wears that big overcoat. That's her coat. That's her normal coat. But she borrows her sister's clothes, and her sister puts her makeup on, and her sister pushes her to go on a Tinder date or like a blind date. So the approximation of one of those swipey app date things.
2083 Tinder, yeah, I'm sure that they'll still be alive in some form.
Some kind of thing, So this is her going on her first date ever in her mid-20s, and so she's kind of approximating, and it's something that I kind of related to in myself, and that was what I wanted to write into her was when I first met my fiance and my girlfriend, I'm really bad at that kind of stuff. So it was I had to actually look up how do normal people dress on dates? Because I've seen movies, I know they dress in suits, but I didn't own a suit. So I was what's a cool fashionable way to so I was thinking this girl that is in this kind of similar situation that I was in, because I met Kay at the same age that May is at in the game, and I was okay, all right. I had to actually think about what's cool, how do people do these things, what's a cool date to go do. So I was thinking this girl who would have this problem and is very much so functionally autistic and definitionally autistic would go, well, what's a sexy way, guys like sexy, right? So how should I dress sexy? So she's dressed over the top with the intention of doing something she's not used to. So there was a legitimate reason, believe it or not, that I was okay, this is a cool thing, because there were other designs of her that were far more clothed and far more cultural, or just more, I guess you could call typical, or just the average person on the street. But I wanted her to stand out and look a little over the top, and there had to be a reason for it. It wouldn't be worth it to just be I felt putting her in a slutty outfit. that's not a good, even for me, it's not a good enough reason. That should be a fine reason, but I wanted to actually have a narrative reason why. So I hinted at that in the tech demo with the date, and I wanted to be very make people think that in a cyberpunk world, in a hyper consumerist world, in the logical conclusion to today's hyper sexual society, a sexy date outfit would look something like this to me anyway. That's how I would see it. So she is very much wearing what I find sexy, but that's because that's how I would draw. That's what I would. If Kay asked me what to wear, I'd be wear this. This is the outfit I want you to wear. So so that's the reasoning why she is dressed the way she is. But I gave her the raincoat to give her a piece of comfort that makes her more safe in her mind, because it's not raining. She's just wearing a raincoat.
Interesting, because it's when I played the tech demo initially, I was thinking, May looks very well. She seems, from what she's saying, from her lines, that she's shy, she's uncomfortable. She's bringing herself into doing something, and it's difficult for her, right? The date, and yet she dressed like that. It's what's going on there, and that is conflicting, her attitude with her dress. But now it makes sense that someone else dressed her like that. You'd definitely be popular with dress like that. But
because she's obviously an attractive. I wanted her to still be an attractive girl, and it was just that thing of what do you call it? I think it's there's ugly duckling syndrome or whatever. It's a girl who doesn't know she's really attractive. you put her in a dress, and it's holy crap, what happened? It's that.
There was a movie about it.
It's that kind of concept, and I'm glad you caught on to that thing of her being very uncomfortable. I was I wanted to make sure that was clear, that she's hyper uncomfortable. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's kind of I have to do this. I got to do it. And then I wanted people to be why is she dressed like that? Then, If she's
Yeah,
this
she's trying to be
uncomfortable, you think
brave.
she'd be wearing, like a bag.
That's
You know?
that's how I. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's you know, sh- for her it's apparently like so hard to just move forward with this because she's scared, maybe she's shy, she's whatever, and yet she presents an image that is totally the opposite. So is that to make her more comfortable, more But yeah, your explanation makes total sense. The slutty sister dressed her. So thank you, slutty sister. That's
Yeah.
basically it. Can you tell me maybe a little bit about how May perceives the ghosts? Do her eyes? I don't know. Maybe initially she thinks that she's being deceived by it, or it's like a glitch, or an issue, or a softer problem, or she needs her to reset her eyes. Or does she?
Well, yeah,
is she a believer in the supernatural, or does she grow into that?
I need to do a better job of depicting that. I think I did. From watching people play and stuff, I caught that, and again, I think I told you before we started that a lot of the stuff is I was staring at this game day in, day out, 14 hours a day at least, and you miss things at some point. You just kind of like glaze over, and you're like, all right, blah blah blah, you move on. So I think I do need to do a better job of showing that. But yeah, so she starts seeing the glitches and seeing these things appear that don't make sense to her, because again, like with her functional autism, it's that idea of like this shouldn't exist. I'm seeing this thing that my brain isn't recognizing existing. So for her, it's just like, something's wrong with my eyes. Oh well, and I'll go fix it. So that's why she goes into the bathroom and takes her faceplate off and resets her eyes. And of course, obviously, that's not going to help anything. So she sees them as video errors, and that's the only way her eyes can translate that into data, as just some kind of error. And that's why I depicted the ghosts as having like very glitchy, with the scan lines and the actual physical glitches and stuff. That was a big piece of it early on for me. I knew that's how I wanted to show those off and be like, okay, they have to look like they aren't in the environment. They have to look like there's something transposed on top of it.
Well, at least for her, they look like
yeah,
that.
To
right?
her, yeah. The average, the average person, let's say somebody with a sixth sense, if there was another character that had like just a typical sixth sense, they would just see it as a ghost, as you would imagine, like any other ghost movie kind of thing. But for her, because there's so much of the idea of like how we would perceive the supernatural or this this other dimension that's on top of ours, people, the one of the leading theories is there is a tie to consciousness. That's why two people can have the same experience in the same place and see two completely different things, because it's kind of like it's what you're seeing is very much informed by your personal experiences and your consciousness to that point. So if one person who's terrified of the idea of ghosts might literally might see the ghost as this really like evil, dark entity that they're terrified of, right? And another person who has had a positive thing with ghosts might see it as this very calming, nurturing kind of like light, white, glowy thing, So it's like two people are going to see these things very differently. So for her, she's only going to see the data, like what it really is. Whereas someone with a sixth sense will just see it as however they see it, and it would be like it's there in the environment, however they see ghosts, I guess.
Just weird Potter guys, like that one.
Yeah.
Come on, that was not. I mean, you can't see Casper. You can't just see Casper in a cyberpunk, game. You can't just see. Oh, all the ghosts look like a friendly little Casper. Nope, they have to be scary as.
So I do want to all the 14 core ghosts in the game are. They are all individually motivated. They're all tied to the same event. They're all part of the same ghost story, but some of them will be outright bad. Some of them will be outright want to hurt you just to hurt you. Some of them are just kind of there. Like they're just stuck there. It's like an endless loop kind of thing. excuse me. So I wanted to make sure that, despite how horrifying they're all going to look, because I really like designing really scary ghosts, I wanted some of them to be sympathetic and some of them to be terrible, and some of them to be not funny, but like just kind of a thing that's there, quirky, I guess is a good word for it. And then on top of that, from a gameplay element, we have the Shinrei spots, and Shinrei spots are a Japanese thing, a specifically Japanese thing, where like you go somewhere that is well known for people that go there take ghost photos all the time. So it's called a Shinrei Shashin, or a Shinrei spot. And within the game, there will be, I haven't worked out the exact number. There will be a lot. It's going to be the collecting item. You need to get 40 of these to unlock this whatever thing. So there will be Shinrei spots.
What would you unlock? What would you unlock with those?
Right now, the only things that are unlockable are costumes. That's the only thing I've come up with that matters or makes sense. It would be costumes, because they're fun. You can play through the game again. You can find new stuff. So if you find all 40, you don't have many. Sorry?
But gameplay-wise, is there going to be any difference from one costume to another, or is it just aesthetic?
I guess you'll have to find out. Huh? We'll have to get to that.
Because usually that's great. No, because usually when you hear different outfits, great. It's usually just a visual thing. It's just an aesthetic, and it doesn't really change the gameplay. But if it doesn't sense, then that's extra incentive to unlock the stuff. So
yeah. So actually,
pretty cool.
Yeah. To be less douchey about it. I am going to have a lot of unlockable costumes. Most of them will just be aesthetic. They'll just be like a goofy thing. Some of them will change, walk cycles. Some of them will have different, like idle poses or something. Like there will be differences for each one on an aesthetic level. But a couple of them will have a gameplay change of some kind. And I'm working that out, because obviously the game is very simple gameplay, right? Like it's just walk and find things to interact with, and then excuse me. I apologize. I'm not tired.
I thought you slept late already. Jesus.
No, it was like I'm still jet lagged, man. That's a month-long trip.
Right. Sorry, I forgot.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So
how long was sorry? How long was the trip? Like the plane trip? Just so everyone gets an idea.
The flight itself, I was in the air for about 18 hours. But
that's freaking crazy.
It was, and there was a 2-hour layover in Beijing as well, and that was just awful.
That's insane.
That's
a freaking day's worth of flying.
Yeah, and I just got back the other day, so I'm still I'm trying to I'm getting closer to a normal American sleep schedule, but this is not working yet. So
yeah, we'll see you in a week.
Yeah,
Takes time.
We'll do a follow-up interview next week. just on my jet lag. Anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, so
the costume.
The costumes, because the gameplay is so straightforward, and everything is just interact here. I've been kind of racking my brain to figure out what kind of changes each thing would make and do. So suffice to say, I don't want to confirm anything is going to have like a specific gameplay change yet, but it is something I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find ways to do some interesting and exciting stuff. Because you're right, it is not it's not as fun if they don't have some kind of unique difference, that kind of makes having the costume more purposeful and unlocking it more purposeful. So, for example, one of the ones that I wanted to put in was a kunoichi, a ninja outfit. And so far in the game, I'm not going to say when, there's an item that if you keep it and you don't use it throughout the game, that is ideally that will unlock the ninja outfit at the end of the game. If you never use this item, and you'll find it like really early on, so you'll always feel really like this need to use it. But if you keep it all the way to the end, you unlock the costume. And what I was thinking with that one would be that your character would be able to run much faster. and she would always run. Like, so, in the points where you have to escape from the ghost, it's a lot easier to escape from the ghost. But that's like basically all I could think of it for the time, because it's like, well, you don't fight anything. There's no stats to increase. There's no like, it's a narrative. It's a heavily narrative game. So yeah, adding different gameplay elements to the costumes has been a task. It's been a very difficult thing to do, and it's something I've been coming back and forth to. But it's
Are there any choices, like in terms of dialogue, or yeah, I guess dialogue would be the most thing. Like, would you get different choices when you interact with other characters that lead to maybe something else?
There are a few. I don't want anybody to think that there's going to be branching paths as far as like story wise. The story will be relatively linear. The gameplay not so much, but the story itself is going to be like you'll be able to choose which floors you want to go to and stuff like that. Like the building itself will be mostly open, and you'll have to like backtrack a lot. And again, to use Resident Evil or Fatal Frame as the example, there will be points where you have to go here to go back here. But as far as dialogue goes, yes, there are some dialogue choices that will change some things if you interact,
but not
and
but they won't have an impact on the actual ending.
Not on the actual.
It's one ending.
Not on the. And there are I will announce and tease with you exclusively. There are multiple endings.
Oh, okay. That wasn't known.
So how you get these multiple endings is strictly through gameplay and things you do within the game. But then they're not tied to dialogue options. The dialogue options, there are a couple unlocks or unlockable items. Let me rephrase that. There is one unlockable costume that is specifically tied to a couple dialogue choices, and the dialogue choices are chained together. So it's like, in order to get this character to say this thing, which lets you like give response A or B, you have to ask this other character a question, kind of thing. So it's one I'm still in the process of polishing up that dialogue chain, because it's kind of difficult to do. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. When I came up with the idea, I was like, oh, it'll be cool. You'll get this costume by talking to this people. And then I'm like, oh shit, that actually takes work. Like that's actually going to take some like clever dialogue, right? To make you figure out that you have to do this in a certain chain. So yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, gameplay-wise, is this device that she technically loses and then gets back immediately in the tech demo. What's this device? What does it do, or does it do anything really in the game, in the full game? This Shirotech wannabe phone, GPS. I don't know what it does. Vibrator.
So it's just called the PDA. It has like a specific product version, like the PDA. It's written on the poster in the train. I forget what it is. But yeah, the Shirotech PDA is just it's kind of it serves many functions. It's a world building piece, because the PDA within Shirotech it's basically the iPhone. It's in the first nuclear world war, EMPs are set off that like set us back like 30 years technologically with our computer technology, but that allows us to kind of like reassess and take what we knew about how to make these things and then do some new stuff. So the PDA, even though it looks really lo-fi or low tech, it's actually like a ridiculously high tech piece of equipment. So for the narrative and the world building, I definitely wanted to have that kind of like clunker old Nokia sat phone kind of look, but it actually does quite a bit of interaction and things. For gameplay wise, right now, just obviously in the tech demo, it's literally just an inventory scroll. I have ideas for things to do with it, as far as giving it other tasks and other abilities. But for the time being...
But they have to make sense.
Yeah, it has to make sense, and that's
You
the
can't
thing,
just you can't just scan ghosts. Let me scan
Yeah.
this ghost because I just bought an app right now that allows me to find out if this ghost is good and when it died. You know, that doesn't make any sense.
For the time being, it's precisely a menu and inventory thing. So like when you pull up your menu and you want to when you want to reread a lore item, like if you're in one of the apartments and you find a letter to one of the other ghosts. If you want to
like a journal thing, will you?
Yeah, like a journal.
Will you have
it'll
a
be
journal
kind of
on
like
that?
that. You'll be able to reread your lore. You'll be able to examine the items you've found and used, and it'll also be how you select and change your costumes. It'll be a main menu kind of device. So at the moment, it's basically just a fancy UI. But I have been considering and thinking really hard about how to implement it into a gameplay sense too, because it seems like a waste not to. You have this device that within the world is like a really high tech piece of equipment, and then it's if the player can't, because I've also seen that I've seen a lot of people playing on Twitch and stuff that are saying like, can I do something with it? So I see the need and I see the desire, and the question is just how to do that, how to make it cool and make it work. So we'll see what I can come up with, and also we'll see if we get funded. if we don't get funded, I don't know. It's probably just gonna stay the UI. But if we get the funding, it'll be one of the early things that I kind of reconsider and try to figure out.
Because it's there and it's obviously an important device, since at least at the beginning, she looks for it. Like it's her way to, I don't know, it's her safe thing. She has to have it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's connected to her eyes. Maybe her cybernetic eyes are Shiro tech too, right? Mm-hmm. This is Shiro tech, so maybe it's like a companion device of some sort. Maybe not everyone has the PDA. it's like a
so everybody
like a heart monitor, but
there is a reason why it's yellow, and it's to match her. Like her favorite color is yellow, so there's that kind of connection. But you're partially right about the connection to her eyes. I don't want to give too much away because it would it's actually kind of important. But that's the thing that I've been trying to figure out, how to connect a gameplay element to it. So I'm working on it, but you're about 40% there, you're on the right track of figuring it out. But it's something that's just really, with this type of game, it's very difficult to add things. When it was originally a 3D, a Fatal Frame clone, basically, it had a lot more uses. Like it was one of the first gameplay devices that I was like, this has to be there. It is kind of a companion device, and it's just how we're going to be able to implement that as far as this type of game. I'm not sure yet, but I'm working on it. It's just going to take a bit.
Just a little. Well, technically you have until August 2018. So chop, because it's like the year's almost over.
I would say that. I would say if we get the funding, the second. It's literally going to be like the first thing that I go and try to figure out, because that one is you want to have all the gameplay knocked out real early, and you want to have all the scripting for it done real early, because that was the one thing that we kind of ran into. I didn't hire our coder, because originally I coded everything myself, and it was a playable game-ish sort of that didn't work very well, and that was when I was like, I can't do this. I can't make a demo with my skill level. I'm not good enough at this, and I don't understand it well enough, so I had to hire the guy. And I'm glad I did. Tom, his name is his online handle is Norseware. He's done some other games before. He's a great guy, great programmer. I'm very happy to have him on board. He fixed a lot of stuff, but the thing that happened was I hired him so late and so close to our Kickstarter to fix things that we were still kind of figuring some gameplay stuff out like a week before we needed the demo done. So, that added some stuff. So this will be one of the first things that's like nailed down and figured out, so we can get it scripted and coded and, then I know it can work. Because my experience so far has been, and this happens in major game development too. You don't want to change stuff too late. You want to make sure everything's really nailed down, alphaed and tested, and working before you go too far. Because if you don't get something working, and then you make it all the way to QA, and then in QA people are like, wow, this is shit and stupid, it doesn't work, then you have a problem. You have to go back to the drawing board with something with maybe 2 months left of dev. And with we have an advanced, So,
or you can just leave it in and then just suspend the loot boxes for a couple of months after release, and that's it.
Yeah,
you're fine.
There's options. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and a little bit. I let certain things slide, but it's more of like lack of skill is where I go. I can't do anything about that. But the stuff like that where I know. My 5 years with Daily Magic and working directly with game docs and doing game design was like, no, this needs to be worked, because you never want to get to testing phases and be like, oh shit, this is just not good. Of the 3 games that I wrote and did all of the core game development for and game design for with Daily Magic, only one of them I think turned out the way I wanted it to turn out gameplay wise, and I was pretty proud of that one. But it was like it took some time to get there. So with Sense, I don't want to have that problem. I want it to come out of the gate and be really strong, and everybody go, ooh, this is fun. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if I can get that PDA working, and I'll definitely keep all of you guys updated on that right away as soon as I do it, and I'll call you out specifically, Christian.
Thank you. It's like, we did it, we found some stuff. Like, okay, what? I can't tell you, you have to wait for the full game. Oh, great.
Oh, no.
Thank you for that.
It'll be like a big update. We'll probably put a demo out. I would think that when we have that kind of thing figured out, that'll be, worth a demo. To be like, hey, we're...
So you're thinking of maybe... Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure that anytime I do anything that's big, and I guess risky is the wrong word, but it's the closest word I can think of. I want to make sure that I test it with the audience and see what people think, and it's really important to me to get feedback and make sure I'm on the right path with certain gameplay things. Because again, this is the first game that I've done myself, and where I've written, where I didn't have somebody looking over my shoulder or checking, or I didn't have a large team of people going, this can work and this can't. So right now it's me making up stuff and going, okay, how do we do this? And then Tom goes, I can code this, and I go, okay, let's try it.
Well, and if anyone wants to help with that, right, with this feedback loop, you putting something in the game, and there's at least you have to pledge at least $30, and whoever does that can get early access to builds, right? So I guess that would be maybe some early testing. Yeah, $30 for at least. You have to pledge at least $30, and again, if you want, there's a link to the Kickstarter page in the description below. So you just get that, and you get early access to builds. You can give feedback, and the game will morph itself into the
and right
final,
now too. Please, by all means, if you've played the demo or you want to play the demo, please do, and feel free to give me feedback. The one thing that I ask, just ignore the boob bounce on her walk cycle. I know we're fixing it. I'm hiring a
it's
real
unnatural.
Animator,
it's very unnatural. It's like
we are putting out a 2.0 demo this coming week with some fixes and patches and shit. And we are removing the boob bounce temporarily. It is not censorship. I am a very anti-censorship guy. Her boob bounce will return,
How would it be
but
censorship?
it will be animated well.
It's like she has motors in there and springs that just go up and down. It's like it's not censorship, but I definitely look forward to the changelog of the demo when it's like normal or fixed boobs bounce.
Yes,
because I don't think anyone has released an update with that line in it.
I'm kind of excited. I'm part of me is hoping it will gain some traction and make people laugh. And I did a little piece of art of May wearing a sports bra, and it was a support joke. So it's fun to play around with it. You know, I get it. I didn't see it when I was working on the game because I just been working on it so long it didn't affect me anymore. And I explained to you beforehand that the walk cycle was my first animated thing that I had done in Unity. I've done other animations for the games I worked on with Daily Magic, but it's very different types of animations. It's like, you know, having a door open, like that's the kind of stuff I can do because it's very simple. You're literally moving a block, right? But having human animations is a different animal. You have to be skilled. I will never knock anybody on that again. Like people, when you have a bad walk cycle in a game, I now completely understand. I'm like, yeah, I get it. That's hard. So I used her walk cycle.
Walk is pretty fun. And
her
breathing, I think it's pretty fine.
I'm pretty proud of everything. Yeah. And even the boob bounce, I'm proud of it, but it's not appropriate. it's like it's a little too much. It's like, all right, Ben, all right. I haven't seen my girlfriend / fiance in like a year at that point, so I'm just gonna blame it on that if I can. But it's something I'm fixing, and we're gonna remove it. So there will be no more boob bounce on as of demo 2.0 until we get an animator to make a good one.
You know that you're gonna get some feedback like, why did you take that out? Like, and then there will be people who will complain about it.
I'll cry a little bit and be like, I didn't want to. It was a decision that had to be made, and it was for the best, temporarily. Because right now I want feedback on the actual writing. I want feedback on, you know, like obviously I can see errors. Like there's I'm sure you've seen it. I think it's played a couple times. The text sometimes does really weird stuff. I don't know why. Our dialogue sometimes just gets goofed up, and that's something we're fixing and trying to figure out. Like that's the kind of stuff I want feedback on. Like, hey, you know, this happened here, or hey, I think you could have had this character say this better, or you know, there needs to be more world building, or whatever. Some stuff that's helpful. The boob bounce thing, you know, that's helpful. When somebody mentions it, you go, okay, yeah, sure, all right, I'll chat. I'll work on that. I'll fix that. But that's the only comment now. And I don't want to make it. Well, I don't want to. It's not a major comments I have gotten from other people too. I have gotten some really great feedback. So,
actually, since you said that, you know, the Kickstarter has been on for a couple of weeks already. So, what are the responses besides the boob bounce thing? Like, what have you heard from people who either seen the page or, you know, play the tech demo?
So we've gotten some pretty great coverage, and we've gotten some not so good coverage, and we've had some quizzical responses, and we've had some excited responses. I'm very pleased with all of it. You know, even the ones that were less than good. I forget his name. Oh, hold on.
It's okay. The dog is fine.
She ended.
They're supposed to bark.
Before I had to mute myself and yell at her. I can't remember the guy's name. Dan's Gaming. I guess he's a big name. He's a big Twitch guy.
I never heard of him. Whatever.
I mean, he is a big Twitch guy. Like he's got a lot of subs and followers. It was very cool that he played the trailer and checked out our Kickstarter the other night. Hold on, 1 second. Sorry.
Dogs. It's okay. The dogs are, they're very lively, and that's not a bad thing. So people, you know, still get dogs. Even they bark sometimes, but they're adorable. They're helpful. They get you out there. They're faithful. So yeah, definitely get dogs. Hey,
I will get a box.
I have already a dog. Thank you. But so yes, I'm good. I'm good right now. My dog is fine. I don't think she would like, you know, more dogs in the house. That would be, you know, too much.
Damn. Well, yeah. So Dan's Gaming. It was very nice. You know, we didn't ask him. We didn't send him anything. I guess he just does a Kickstarter. Like he does like a Kickstarter roundup every now and then, and he did ours, among others, and on like an 8-hour stream. It was pretty cool. It was very exciting to see, you know, to know that many people were going to be looking at it.
Yeah.
But his his reaction was less than positive. So it was good to see that too, because it kind of like humbles you a little bit. You go, okay, this guy doesn't like it, and he made mention of the boobs. He made mention of just, it was kind of like he was not impressed. And he plays games for a living, so it was something I need to consider and had to think about. And I read through the chat, and it was interesting. It was exciting because I'm going, holy crap, people are looking at my game. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something you have to take it both with a grain of salt and also hear it out. So the overall coverage, the overall feedback has been pretty good. I've had some actually interesting comments, and I found that the most helpful things are when people are playing the demo and they talk to themselves and they're like, why is that happening? One thing I was worried people would catch and be curious about was when you have to find the ID card to get into the bar in the street. Because originally, so in the main game, that all those interactions are going to be approximately the same, but there's going to be a different string. Like, you'll have to do certain things to do certain things, right? So we didn't have time to get all of that in to get the demo out. And it was that thing of going, okay, people need to be able to get the ID card, because the only way they can get into the bar is do that, unless we just drop it all together. But we'd already written and included dialogue for the bartender to be like, hey, I need your ID. So there was this thing of like, okay, what do we do? And we just kind of decided, well, we're just going to put it on the street under the car, because that works, And people then got confused, like, why the hell did my ID, like, if it's my ID, why is it on the street? And it's like, okay, so there's a reason, and but I can't, I'm not talking directly to them, and it's also really lame to try to give like an explanation after the fact, right? So stuff like that. It's those little things where you considered it or you knew, but hearing somebody say it just to themselves out loud is like, oh, okay, yeah, that is pretty bad, or oh, that's weird, or oh, that's right. So it's been a huge learning experience on my end, because it's the first time I've seen people play the games and give immediate feedback in this way, where I'm directly involved with that part of the game development. And it's going to help a lot as I move forward with the project too. So, I now know to think about these things from a different point of view too, as I'm developing and as I'm, figuring these things out. So, it's been pretty good, but it also, some things are just,
would you say eye-opening?
Eye-opening is good. Yes. I've developed a sixth sense, if you were. Yeah, I hate myself for that one.
Oh, come on, it's fun.
It is also disheartening sometimes when I make mention of the boob comment as much as everybody else is making mention of the boobs. It's that thing of going, okay, I get it. Could be done better. It's
really not the biggest thing. I really don't understand. Like, I don't understand how anyone, unless you're like 12 and up, or let me be 16 and up, who would obsess over something like this. Because sure, it's there and it's kind of always there, but it's a tech demo. It's rough animations. It's a very small part. The game is not finished. If the game was like a month away from release, I was thinking like, that's not normal, right? So I wouldn't be obsessed. This idea of obsessing over very small things, I think, takes away from the big, which is gameplay, text, dialogue, interaction. Those are the important things of sense, not so much one very specific animation that is not even going to be in the full game. The bigger problem, like for me, right?
Is that it's not that they're wrong either. I don't want to mischaracterize.
No, I'm not saying it's just the obsession.
One of my friends,
the obsession part is too much.
A cosplayer, she played in her stream, and she made mention of it right away. She was like, wow, that's kind of annoying. And it's something I didn't even consider. I didn't even think about it when I was doing that animation, because it was just I was just like, oh, doing the animation, boobs bounce and girls walk, that's cool. And it was that thing of going, oh, okay, she's annoyed by it. So it's more of a, I don't mean to say like I'm disheartened by them making the comment or that I disagree or anything entirely. It's more that I'm like maybe disappointed in myself or disheartened in myself that I didn't think about that, or that I didn't. And I don't mean that in like the, you know, the self.
It is a very small thing, though.
More in just the considering how to make something good way. You know, I want to make it the best. I'm definitely not going to self-censor anything. I'm definitely not going to be one of the, you know, certain group of people on the internet that would self-censor and would take things in that direction. But you can definitely also be open to certain criticisms and be like, oh damn, I didn't think of it like that, you know. So yeah, it's something that I want to fix, and like I said, it's and like you said, you know, it's a proof of concept alpha build early version of the game that I want to make sure that I put the best thing out, and I'm more. It's more. Well,
that's the thing. This isn't the best thing out.
It's that it's not good enough by my standard. So I was like, oh shit, it does look bad. It is really distracting. You know, I can see their argument. I can be like, fuck, I didn't want that to happen. So that's where most of my I guess energy comes from on that.
So you're going to be bombarded. Seriously, I'm telling, when the game comes out, there's going to be people who complain
I think I lost you.
Not the bounce.
You cut out.
It's okay. So I'm telling you, despite all of this, there's going to be people when the game comes out that are going to complain that the bounce is not there. So easy.
Oh, the bounce will be there when the game is done. Yeah, the bounce is coming back. Don't.
More fluid, obviously.
Yeah, it'll be more reasonable and done well. That's the thing. Like, I'm gonna hire a real animator for pretty much everything. Like, I'm happy with my environment animations. Like you see here, the subway. I'm pretty happy with that. It's the character animations need to be better. They need to be on a certain level that I'm not proud of myself on. So, it's that, you know, we'll be hiring somebody who knows what they're doing with that, and I'll hire the best person for that job. And yeah, I think that's that's how I feel about that.
Do you think that it was like a very why did I say like, Jesus? I'm not from anyway. How important was it to have a playable something, demo, prototype out when the Kickstarter launched? Do you think that was a big important thing for the project to get maybe more exposure, or, you know, get more feedback, or get noticed maybe a bit easier?
That's a good question, actually. It was something Joe and I. Joe is the CEO of Top Hat Studios, the publisher.
We're gonna talk about them too.
Yeah. Joe and I were talking about this the other night, actually, and it was something that I think I've never done a Kickstarter. I'm not familiar with it enough. He's done quite a few. And it was something I asked him, like, should we have waited? Should we have done it as an update mid Kickstarter? You know, like maybe on day 15 or something, and given us more time to polish and hype it up. And he said no. But we both at the beginning had the same idea that the demo probably wasn't ready at the beginning. So I don't know. It's kind of tough because we released the demo about a week before the Kickstarter. So it was it's a good question because it's kind of weird. It's my personal thought is that it might have been, in retrospect, in hindsight, it might have been better to take the extra time to polish. At the same time, I had just flown to Hong Kong, so I wouldn't have been able to do much on my end. It would have been all based on Tom fixing certain things. And the issue with that is that when he uploads his changes and commits them, I have to do some tweaking on my end. Not of his code, of like the things that are implemented, the other art. So I think it was just a perfect storm of, we've got to get it out. We've got to do it. And in game development, sometimes there's a point where you just go ship it. You know, you just okay, it's done. Move on. So, you know, at this point, you know, we're over halfway into the Kickstarter. We've got a little less than 2 weeks left, and I haven't checked it in a few hours, but we've passed the $7,000 mark, and I'm hopeful. I think I'm really hopeful we're at least gonna meet our main goal, and I think we will. But that's that thing. That's that thing where you go, okay, what could we do better? Assuming we don't meet the goal, we're gonna relaunch the Kickstarter in February. We're gonna take some time over the holidays to figure out how to we're gonna reassess. And maybe that will be a thing of, at that point, maybe the demo 4.0 or whatever we're at internally that we release with the Kickstarter 2.0, if we have to, will be better. And maybe that will help a lot at that time. I don't know. For now, I'd like to believe the demo helped a lot. It seems like it did, because we did pretty good. The first couple days, we got a lot of funding and a lot of backers. So I don't know. I don't know the metrics for whether or not it was helpful or hurtful. It is possible. It is certainly possible that it hurt us more than helped us. I just don't know.
That's interesting, because from seeing other Kickstarters, from talking to other developers while they had games on Kickstarter, it was this idea that it's harder, more difficult to get your product out there, to get the funding, depending if you have a name or not. And having something playable, it gives, potential pledgers, potential investors, potential people who would give their money to the Kickstarter, a little bit more confidence that you can deliver. So I think, I would, if I had to suggest something, I would say everyone who goes and makes a Kickstarter, if you can have a demo, make the freaking demo. That would be my idea, because there are a lot of people who've been burned by Kickstarter, and some people are already wary, and especially if you're maybe not if you're not Peter Molyneux or whatever, right? It's going to be a harder time to get attention. So I think a demo would help, with exposure, with a lot of YouTubers doing content. And more people see it, and people see, oh, there's actually something playable here, so this may not be a freaking scam, and the person will not run away with the money. I know it's a very low chance, that people would lose the money and nothing would come out of it, but it's still, it's still more than just having a few concept arts, which I've never got that idea. Okay, showing some concept arts and you want $100,000? Wait, what? Oh, how's that gonna work? Well, of course it works in the good old days of Kickstarter, but now not so much.
Yeah, and that was actually, that's a good point, because that was one of the things that was why I pushed to have the demo done. And because to me it was, I can sit here and I can tell you everything there is to know about this game, and because again, like I said, it's been almost 5 years in the making of the universe, and the game itself is 3 years or so. And it's that thing of going, okay, I know everything there is to know about it. I can tell you a lot of stuff. I can show you a lot of concepts, but in the end, the only thing I have to show for my career so far is games for Big Fish Games. And most people, for whatever reason, don't consider that a good enough thing. And as a concept artist, all I have is 2D art, right? So I wanted to show people that I can do this, and that's why I'm pretty proud of everything I did, because I did it myself, except for the coding at the end that polished it up. But her walking code, coding to get her walking, the interaction, I did the base version of it, and then Tom came in and then fixed it like a superhero. But for the most part, the game is me. This is 5 months of me working my ass off. So there was that thing of going, okay, I need people to believe that I can do this. That was the huge thing, and I think that's the part that's not disappointing, but it's that thing where I go, okay, that's why I don't know. I don't know if it was worth it or not, because showing it that yes, I can do this gets some people, but maybe having it not to the quality that I would want it, or that is good enough for some people, might have turned people off. I don't know. I hope not. I hope everybody sees it like the cool hallmark story in my life is right now. You know, my fiance believed in me. She helped. She pushed me to make it, and then I made it. So we'll see what happens. And I think I'll know. I'll have a more confident answer on that after Kickstarter's done, whether it's success or fail on this attempt. I'll have a better answer.
Come on.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a lot. I've seen shitty Kickstarters get money. Come on, this the artwork is, I think, okay, visually, at least visually. Okay, just take that, because that's the big thing that that's the first thing for anyone who says that graphics don't matter. It's not exactly that, but they do matter. Even if you have pixelated stuff, if you have 3D art. It matters.
It's
the first impression matters. Yeah.
Yeah, the art
and
direction.
The art direction is
always.
I think it's very distinct. It looks great. It has this comic book feel that's. I think it's emphasized by the cutscenes, which I like. Of course, that some people may not exactly be fond of that, but it's not. I don't think it's something that you can dislike. So, I really can't see the idea of, this is a project that doesn't have potential. Obviously it does. If you play it, if you look at it, if you want super in-depth, if you want to go super in-depth, then the tech demo doesn't offer that. But it's not supposed to offer that. It's supposed to give you, a small glimpse into the world, and then you can read up on the Kickstarter, see what the story is about, hopefully hear this interview and get the idea of what's the plan for the whole game, and make up your mind as to that. So for anyone watching, pledge at least $20 for a copy, or $30 if you want to get the early access builds. Okay, let's go back a little bit.
Sure.
Let's talk about the audio actually, because that's maybe low-key in the tech demo because of, I guess, maybe for time. I know on the page says you're going to work with Andy Han, and just tell me a little bit of what's he preparing for Sense in terms of theme. What can we expect from his work?
Yeah, so if you don't know Andy Han, he is the co-composer of Katawa Shoujo, and let me pull up his thing because I forget what the new game he's working on is called. It's really good though. It looks really good. I'm sure you can find it on his Twitter. So I was on Gab.ai. I tried to make Gab happen for me. It didn't happen, so I kind of gave up and stopped caring. Gab is a great platform.
Minds, come on, Minds.
Yeah, I want to switch. I want to try out Minds too. But so
come on, Minds, everyone.
He saw my post on Gab and was like, "Hey, this looks really cool." And I knew his name. I was like, "Holy shit, that's the guy who did Katawa Shoujo." And I like visual novels a lot. And it was very exciting to have him reach out to me, and he was immediately interested in working on the project. So we talked about it, and I think I'm fairly certain that Joe, our publisher, came on board from him. And Andy's been great to work with. He finished the trailer. The music in the trailer and the Kickstarter video is the theme of Sense. That was his music. And I love it. The second I heard it, I was like, oh my god, this is perfect. Everything inside the game right now is all music from freemusic.org and different places like that. It's all temporary stuff. All the sound effects are things I recorded though. Well, not me. My girlfriend and her sister recorded for me in Hong Kong. But so all the sound effects, all the background noise of people talking, all the that kind of stuff. That's all stuff I've made. And my girlfriend and I have made. But the music so far is just it's just free music stuff. So, and I wanted it to be very low key and kind of in the background because Andy's schedule, he was finishing up another project, and then we knew that the trailer music was most important. So there wasn't a lot of time. and there wasn't enough money to pay him to do all of that before the Kickstarter would start. But yeah, so like I said, all the music in the demo is not his, but the trailer music is, and the trailer music is a good example of what the kind of music will be. We wanted to use, if you're familiar with like John Carpenter movies like Halloween and The Thing is one of my favorite movies of all time. I really wanted that sound, that synthesizer, that 1980s, just it's very quintessential 80s horror movie soundtrack. But I also really wanted cultural influences from Hong Kong and China. I wanted it to be obvious. I wanted you to hear it, and I wanted instruments and things like that to be pulled in from that, mixed with that synthesizer. So he's been experimenting with it, and the trailer music came out amazing. I'm very excited for everything he's gonna do, and he hasn't responded yet. I sent him a message the other day about potentially for the updated demo getting a couple tracks in there. I don't know. That's something we'll have to figure out, but probably won't happen because he's a busy guy. And once we have Kickstarter funding, then I can actually pay him to do the work. So we'll see what happens with that. But his work is incredible. He's a brilliant composer, brilliant mind for music. He really understands. He knows how to pull what you want out of very simple explanations. I gave him some YouTube videos, the Ghost in the Shell soundtrack, the Thing soundtrack, and I was like, I want this but Chinese, but Hong Kong. And he got it. He was like, yeah, okay, cool. And he immediately went into building that out and making it work, and I'm very impressed and super excited to continue working with him.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And yeah, the trailer music is awesome, and hopefully there's gonna be maybe are you thinking of maybe having the soundtrack like separately, like added as DLC or something like that on Steam?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the soundtrack will not only be an add-on item in Kickstarter, I think this coming week. It'll be something you'll be able to buy. It'll be on Steam. Yeah, we're definitely committed to giving Andy his due and putting the music out there, because that's as much of a piece of art on its own as it is part of the whole package. I really trust his work. I used to use the Kotoa Shoujo OST as just like a background music while I worked before, and it's going to be awesome to have him involved, and I'm prepared to support him any way I can on anything else. So it's pretty exciting.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, since we went to the visuals, gameplay, music, pretty much everything. Tell me about the engine. So it's using Unity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why you chose this engine, and if the game needs anything custom, if it needs anything custom made specifically for the gameplay elements or sense in general?
Yeah. So a couple, when I started the core dev of it, I was writing the game doc and everything, and my previous at Daily Magic, they use their own engine. So at first I was looking into just being like, okay, well, how does that work? How do you make your own engine for this stuff? Because Unity, Unreal, they all have like license fees and stuff. And the more I researched, I was like, well, that takes like a team of people to create an engine that works and that I can do what I want to do with it. And it just wasn't worth it. So, obviously going into the free stuff, I was looking at Game Maker Studio and Unity and Unreal. And when I knew it was going to be a 2D game.
Nobody considers CryEngine. Like, what? Seriously, like.
I think because CryEngine is a hyper complicated thing. It's like, it's diminishing returns of like, it's such a complicated engine to work with, as far as I understand, that it's like the amount of people you need that to really know it to get something like to the quality of Crisis is just, as far as I understand, it's not worth it. Unless you're a
To be
big
fair,
studio.
not even Crytek can get anything done at the quality of Crysis anymore. So
exactly. So it's that thing of like it's kind of like the Fox engine with Kojima. It's like, in order to get something amazing done with that, you need Kojima's team. You know, you need people that really know that engine, and there's no point. You're not going to find Konami's not going to find people to work that well with it again. So you might as well just scrap it or sell it back to Kojima. So when I was doing all the research and trying to, my main point of research was find documentation on how to make a 2D game. That was all I was looking at, was like, if it's easy for me to do and I can make it look good and it's industry standard. So industry standard immediately kicked Game Maker Studio. So it really came down to Unity and Unreal. And I was kind of embattled between that, because Unity has this, for some strange reason, Unity has a really bad, people look at you look down on Unity very quickly. The second you say Unity game, people are like,
the perception. Yeah, which is really weird. Well, it's not weird because it has an explanation. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's plenty of horrible games made with Unity that it makes sense, but that's not the fault of the engine. That's the fault of the teams using the engine, right? The thing that sold me on it was that Unity has tons of documentation. I can go on YouTube and look up 1,000 tutorials that tell me 1,000 different ways to do exactly what I want to do, and that was where I went, "Yep, this is it." And then I was solidified on it. I think I don't remember if we talked about this on streamer or on the stream or not, or before. Tim Surratt's The Last Night is being made in Unity, and that was where I was like, "Oh, okay, if he can make this look that good on Unity, then I can." And I was wrong. You know, he has a team of very, very highly skilled people, and he's a brilliant guy. So, but you know, they're going above and beyond with this engine, and I just realized that that's a starting point. You know, that's something I can believe in this engine and work with it. I'd love to work with Unreal. I've worked with it before on other projects with other people where I was just doing art stuff. Unreal is a great, amazing engine, and I would love to work with it, but I'm not coding inclined. So for me, it takes a lot more work to get something running, and Unity doesn't. Unity is a lot easier to start with. It's it's baby steps. Maybe someday I'll graduate to Unreal. Maybe someday I'll make a game in Unreal that's something different. I don't know. I like Unity. I think
that'd be a little bit weird.
Yeah, it's
like you're doing Sense Unity, Sense 2, however it's gonna be called, Unreal Engine 4. But like that, usually things like that don't happen.
Well, yeah, I'll put the kibosh on that. Unless Sense becomes a full 3D game, unless the sequel, I'm able to do that. If it does become a full 3D game, you know, a quote unquote a Fatal Frame clone, no, it'll always be Unity. And you know, now with Unity's new tools, I could probably do that with Unity anyway. There have to be some real reason to get me to switch. Like if all the coders that I needed to hire to make this game were like, we need to use Unreal, then I would be like, okay, sure. You know, I'll listen to the people that are more expert than me on certain things and be like, yeah, okay, let's do what's going to make the best game, right? What's going to make us deliver the best experience to people. I think Unity does a great job, and I'm very happy with it. I'm proud to be using Unity. I think it's a good solid engine, and it doesn't overcomplicate things that don't need to be overcomplicated. It does overcomplicate things that are complicated, but you know, for the average person, it's not going to be an issue. So, and like I said, Tom's a fantastic programmer, and he really gets shit done, and he knows what he's doing with it. So, it's been pretty good.
So, are you thinking because you're using Unity and it has a lot of multi-platform support? I would say probably the best support for multiple platforms than compared to any other engine, I guess, out there, at least available to third parties. Are you maybe considering seeing Sense on other platforms, not only on the PC, maybe consoles, the Switch, for example?
Absolutely, yeah.
Goals.
Those are our first two stretch goals. Yeah, the PS4 and Vita would be, were my dream thing. Like I've always wanted to have a game on PlayStation Pro. I'm a little bit of a Sony fanboy, to be honest. Like I've owned every one of their consoles. I love Sony. I love PlayStation. So for me, I was like, yes, I've got to have a Vita version. I've got to have a PS4 version. Then my girlfriend got the Switch, and I was like, oh shit, I've got to have a Switch version. Because I played it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. I was completely wrong about the Switch being a complete piece of crap, which I thought it was going to be before it came out. So to everybody I know personally that I was like, don't buy a Switch, it's stupid. I am wrong. I apologize. Everybody go buy a Switch. The Switch is awesome.
Isn't that weird though? Right? The Switch is like, before it came out.
I gotta be honest.
I
was completely shocked.
Yeah, well, to me it was like, okay, it's a freaking tablet. Cool. We've never had those before. It's like, really? Okay, it's a freaking tablet. I mean, it's a powerful tablet. That's cool. Awesome. The problem I had with it was like, yeah, the games have to be there.
And that's what it was, really.
There are some games there. That's the thing. Yeah.
It's just it's one of those things where I think Switch's like early marketing, like when they announced it, was really bad. It made it look bad. It made it look stupid. It made it look like just dumb and
weak. Yeah,
weak and underpowered. And it is a weak console. Mm-hmm. I mean, it is not that strong.
Yeah,
but it's good enough. I mean, Mario looks amazing. It's fun, and it's just. The Switch is a great console, and the Bomberman game. I love the Bomberman game is my favorite game on it. It's just so over the top. It's so ridiculously hard but fun. Yeah, they just did a fantastic job.
They get Cuphead.
Yeah. Oh god. I really would love to be able to put it on Switch and have some kind of exclusive costume on Switch would be cool or something like that. People have actually been asking about Xbox One as well, and Xbox One is a different thing. So my understanding so far is that the Xbox One developers licenses and all that stuff is a lot more expensive and it's harder to do. And to me, it wasn't a bias. I've owned all the Xboxes so far, and I plan to get an Xbox One eventually when there's that killer app for it. It's just so weird that Microsoft just keeps, canceling all the games that I want to buy, So there's not enough of a market share there at the moment that I was seeing when I was deciding these things, and knowing that developing for Xbox One is harder there too, and I'm a Sony guy, and I was really impressed by the Switch, so I was like, it just didn't even chime into my head. Now people are asking for the Xbox One, so I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, if we can make it happen, let's put it on the Xbox One. Of course, I want to put it on every console we possibly can. Right now we are encountering some issues putting a Linux version out. But not too many issues, luckily. We're just hopefully demo 2.0 will be able to put the Linux version out. I don't want to confirm that. I'm not saying it will be to anybody listening. I'm hoping it will be. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully we can get it out there. But yeah, console versions are definitely a thing. At the very least, PS4 and Vita, and if we can do the Switch, we're going to do the Switch.
Okay, you said that you're a big Sony guy. Tell me what the deal is with the Vita, because I never got it. It's like, is the install base there that would justify a Vita version, or is it just like really, really cheap to also put it on the Vita if you put it on the PS4? Is it like the same thing, or do you have to code just very
it's
little?
Very simple.
Because I never got that thing. Like I've seen a lot of things like that, and like Vita, really, like that crap probably never sold in much. So why exactly?
You'd be surprised, actually. The Vita did not do bad. The Vita sold better than the Wii U, and the Wii U didn't do very good. But this is it's not saying much. But
yeah.
You have to. The other thing to remember is that in Japan and in Asia, the Vita was really popular. it's sold really well. It's just niche. It's in America, it didn't sell great, but it's a very niche product. Every game that comes out for the Vita that's still coming out is all like really weird anime games, right? Like, you know, very weird JRPGs or, you know, some kind of thing like that, you know. When I was in Hong Kong, I picked up Super Robot Wars 5 because they're fun. Like, it's just the most they're just over the top weeb games, right? Really. And so for me, that was like, I love my Vita. I play it all the time, and it's one of those ones that, like, you know, I can carry it with me, or I can just lay down in bed with it. It's not an issue. As far as I know, on the development end and everything I've looked into, it's very simple. If you can make it on PS4 and it's not like a heavy, you know, obviously not a PS4 game won't work on the Vita, but, you know, you make an indie game for PS4, you can put it on the Vita very simply. So that was the thing where I was just like, yeah, I want it on the Vita, I want it on the PS4. It's easy to do. Unity can handle it, so let's do it. And then yeah, I think everybody was on board with that, and it was a simple choice for me. Switch was the one that was like, that'd be cool, I don't know if we can do it, and then it happened. You know, we got the licenses, and if we can get the funding, yeah, we're going to do it. So Xbox One, I don't want to tell anybody yes or no yet. It's one we really have to look into it, because the market on Xbox One is so small that, and so it cross sections with the PC market so much that it's a question of whether or not it's viable. So something I have to look into. It's definitely not a no.
It's small. The market is small. Is it small for indie games in general? Like
it's games in general. The Xbox One just doesn't have. It doesn't have the market, the sales market.
Yeah,
like
but they sold
install base. And as far as I know,
is it that small?
From looking at sales numbers, the indie games don't do that great on the Xbox. So, you know, everything that you can buy on an Xbox, you can get on a PC. So far, that's been based on my research. I have no ill will towards Microsoft. I don't mean to shit on their console. I think the Xbox One, what is it? The new one, the One X looks
One X,
great.
One X, yeah.
I'll probably get one. It's just right now, from the developer end, I don't know if I see it as a viable thing, but we'll see. I'd really like to. I want anybody who has any console to be able to play the game. That's my goal right now.
Yeah, I think that's a really good goal, and, you know, philosophy if you have it. You know, no freaking exclusives, no anything. Just bring it to as many people as possible, and that, you know, anyone can play on whatever they would like. You know, because some people like this, some people like that. You know. Even the Vita, okay, let's say even the Vita, you know, just the more choice I think you give, the better your customer base is going to be, you know, viewing your game. I think it's going to be like, yeah, you can buy it everywhere, you know, on Steam, on the PlayStation Store. I mean, I could definitely see it on the Switch, and, you know, the numbers seem really good for the Switch. It's
really
kind of amazing.
The Switch is a huge opportunity, and I'm pretty excited to get it on that one. And the only thing I'm still not sure about, just because the way the gameplay works is like mobile, is like the phones and tablets. I'm thinking about it, but it's more about changing how the gameplay works becoming a problem. So that's like it's not a no, but it's not a yes. Mobile and iPhone. That's gonna be something to think about. I just don't know. That's post Kickstarter funding. That we'll figure that out long time down the road.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a publisher, Top Hat Studios, and this is I've seen several projects with the publisher that go on Kickstarter. I'm thinking technically, shouldn't the publisher be the one footing the bill? And then, you know, getting the money from sales later on. Like, what's your relationship with Top Hat? How does this work? I don't want the contract. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I coughed and muted myself, and then I said, "Excuse me," after I muted. So the so the way, like, because I got this kind of criticism somewhere else too. Somebody kind of made the joke of like,
it's not criticism. It's just,
Well, yeah, not
it's not a criticism
the
because
other person gave criticism on it. They were kind of annoyed that I have a publisher and yet I'm asking for a Kickstarter funding. So the way this works is Joe is awesome. Joe's a really great guy, and I was very humbled and honored to have somebody reach out to me and be like, I want to publish your game. It's not an issue, so I use the word issue because I can't think of another one. The issue is they're a very small publisher. So, he's got some pocket funding that he can give out for certain things. But it's not enough to fund the project. They're kind of a revolving door of projects. They put enough money in to get it made, to get it to the Kickstarter or get it to whatever. And then after that, it goes out and they take a cut of the profits, but of a very small percentage too. I'm not going to give away any numbers, but I'm very happy and humbled by the contract that Joe and I worked up for publishing this. So he is able to give me a personal stipend to live on for a couple months prior to the Kickstarter. He's very generous and helpful and all of that stuff. He's paying for all of the marketing. Because we did hire a PR company to help blast out emails and stuff to press and to give us kind of guidance on this, on some of the stuff that Joe hasn't done before. Because this is it's not the first safe for work game he's done, but it's the first game that's not like a particularly niche title, like a Euro game or the visual novel thing. So this is kind of a first for his studio too, and I that was one of the things that humbled me, was that it's mine. It's the one he wanted to do that too, and so he's putting a lot of his own money and his personal money and his company's money into it. It's just that it's not enough to actually fund the game, to do what we need to do, to hire the people that we need to hire, to get it from where it is right now, the 10% mark, to finished. And that's where the Kickstarter comes in. Very rarely, there are very few studios that are going to have that kind of money. I mean, I know the numbers, but I can't talk the numbers. At Daily Magic, Big Fish, what they do is they pay the company up front, and they give them, a specific amount of money to make one of the games or a group of games. And you have a contract, and it's like, we'll give you, it's just making up a number, we'll give you $1 million to make 6 titles for us over the next 2 years. And then the company, you agree to it or you don't agree to it, and then you get that money either up front or in chunks, right? So Joe doesn't have that kind of money, and Top Hat has success, and they've had some good stuff happen, and they've put out a lot of good, mostly erotic or hentai games. But that's definitely that's enough to pay back the studios that made them, and to pay the people that they needed to pay, and for Joe to take money to pay his own rent. It's not an exorbitant amount of cash. So everything he's done for me on my end, I'm very grateful for and excited to continue working with him, because he's made some promises and stuff for after the Kickstarter, regardless of how it ends. So he's a good guy, and I really believe in Top Hat Studios. I believe in what they're doing. I believe in Joe, and I'm happy that he believes in me too. So yeah, it's just that some publishers don't have the money to actually fund a game. A publisher usually just secures the rights to things, and it doesn't mean that they fund you. That would be a producer funds you. A producer comes in and is like, here's $1 million, produce this. And then a publisher just necessarily gets you out there. Because the other thing that Top Hat is providing is the licensing fees and manufacturing, and so they're taking care of all the other stuff, so I don't have to worry about it. It's more of like a help. It's a great deal, and I'm really, like I said, I'm really grateful for what they're doing on their end.
Okay, so it's not Activision Blizzard that they can just give out, here's billions and billions, get the freaking game done.
Unfortunately, no. I wish
he
did have that kind of money for both of our sakes. But yeah,
Well,
it's
to get to
definitely-
that, you know, you would need to add loot boxes if that was the case. So
Oh, no. Well,
you know,
maybe
you wouldn't want sense. Well,
don't
oh,
speak.
you're thinking about it.
Yeah, don't speak too soon. You know, maybe May's costumes will be all loot boxes, and like have you have like a 1 in 1 million shot to get one of the costumes completely randomly, and then everything else is, I don't know, stickers, random signs on the street. That'd be
Stickers?
great. Yeah,
Oh Jesus. Well,
you can.
I guess
You can have
I guess it's better than. Oh, great, yeah, because that makes sense in a freaking adventure game. Sprays,
It
it's like,
does.
yeah, you can go here
Mark your
and
progress.
you spray
There
on
you go.
the yeah. Actually, speaking of progress, this is gonna go back to the gameplay a little bit. So, on the Kickstarter page, I read that there are gonna be save points. So how is that going to work? Are just so you won't be able to save at any point in time. There are going to be specific points we're going to save, and how is that going to work?
Oh, okay.
You just find them, you unlock them,
So
and you
very
save.
similar. You know, this is something I do. A lot of things are homages to things too. Like, so the save point concept is definitely Resident Evil and definitely Fatal Frame. It's the idea of you have specific points that act as checkpoints, but they're limited, and you need to be careful and how you use them and when you use them. So what we're considering right now, and what my main concept is that it's going to be Betamax, a TV with a Betamax player, because Betamax, didn't happen, but in my world it did, because Betamax was better than VHS. So
What?
you'll come across
Come
a
on,
TV
what world is
and you'll
that?
put the Betamax tape in, and that'll record your progress, right?
Okay.
So it'll be very similar to the save rooms in Resident Evil. You just have to be careful where you are. You have to think about like which floor you're on and where you have to go, where a certain ghost might be. It's going to be built around that concept, and you will be able to
But
die.
can you save at any?
Ghosts? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, but can you
ghosts-
save at any point in
Yeah,
time?
you go ahead.
Sorry.
What was that?
Did you hear me? Can you save
No.
at any point in time? Like if you're at that spot, like do
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
unlimited saves in that spot?
Yeah, you'll have unlimited. Well, I don't want to say yes or no to that, because I have considered the idea that the tapes will be like they'll have a what's it called, like when durability, because if you
Okay.
re-recorded over a VHS over and over again, it would kind of like tear up, and then you wouldn't be able to even watch it after a couple of times, right? So
Yeah, but you don't have VHS, you have Betamax, and those are indestructible. So
well,
infinite.
Betamax was worse. Betamax was a better.
Oh, so
It had higher quality, but they were really, really crappy, like poorly made. So they didn't retain their quality for very long if you recorded over them. That was one of the reasons
Yeah,
why, because
no
VHS,
idea.
even though the quality was lower, the video quality was lower. Like it. Anyway, this is old nerd talk. But the
no, but it's you saying that like when the Betamax VHS war was going on, Romania was under communist rule, so we didn't have any of that shit. So it doesn't matter. I don't know. So it's like
So you guys
we didn't have any freaking yeah, we didn't have color TVs. I didn't have a color TV until 92, so it's kind of like that, like yeah, Betamax. I don't know how that works. So
Yeah.
go ahead, sorry.
I mean, if there's one
different
place
parts
you're
of the
gonna be able to find a Betamax, it's probably Romania, though. Like it's like the one country
Probably.
you're still gonna be able to. Yeah, Betamaxes were actually like high quality video, but they were just really not durable tapes, and the way you recorded on them could just tear up that tape super easy. So the idea popped into my mind about having them have like a durability, and then if you overuse that tape at that place too many times, it'll be unavailable. But the way the save system works is that it's actually tied to the place. So if you save too many times at this certain save point, that save point will be unavailable eventually. So it's like if you keep just going back and forth to the one place, you could f up your progress. So that's what I've been thinking. I don't know if that's too unfair, because of how backtrack heavy and how chain heavy the game is going to be. It's something I'm experimenting with and toying with, and I've been, as I'm writing out like the gameplay map, I've been thinking, okay, how many times would a person logically have to go back here, and how many times could they go back here? Just because they did. And so it's in planning, but the idea would be, you can only save at the save points. There are no checkpoints. If you play for an hour without saving, that's on you, man.
No, because that's interesting. You're saying 'cause the game is linear, right?
Relatively, yeah.
In terms of the story, right?
Yes.
So you can predict how many times the player needs to be in a certain spot, and then go back to a certain spot, and then move forward to another place and another place and another place. So giving a little bit of margin of error. I don't know how many slots, like durability. I think you can.
Yeah.
I think you could implement that system and still make it logical and fair, because that's a big issue with fairness. I mean, because it would be definitely something that makes sense, stand out, this save system, whereas in most adventure games you can save whenever you want, right? You just mash it, like you can auto save or whatever a billion times.
I think I lost you a second.
Oh, sorry. So compared to other adventure games, in those you'd be able to save at any point in time for as long as you'd like, for as many times you'd like.
I'm
I
still
think this
losing
system
you.
would
Cutting in and out.
What the hell? Seriously,
Can you hear me?
I have pretty good internet, so I think it's, yes, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. It's the other way.
Yeah, your volume is
now?
going like all the way down and then back up, and then all the way down and then back up.
Okay, that's weird. That is freaking weird.
Oh, you're back. You're back now. I don't know what you did, but you're back now.
I swear I did not do anything. I really didn't do anything.
It's that Romanian internet then.
We have pretty good internet here because of deregulation. It's like
okay.
We don't have net neutrality. We just You watch V? Seriously? I don't know him, so yeah, it's you know what? I'm sorry, but he's okay. Just seriously, that accent. Oh, come on, we can't be from the same country. He has that accent.
What is happening?
Sorry, I'm just saying that. Just California internet. I'm telling you, that's the problem.
It probably is. California sucks.
Yeah. Well, it's fine. At least the weather is nice, I guess. That's good. Anything else? Okay, so sorry, I was saying about the save system, right? That it would it'll make sense, be.
I can't hear you yet. I'm still struggling.
Damn it. Okay, you just stop for 10 minutes then. Damn it. Jesus.
Okay, try now.
Okay, so sorry. I was saying, Jesus, internet, come on. I was saying that this save system, you implementing this type of save system would make sense, stand out from the crowd of other adventure games, right? Because in most of them you can save for as many times as you want and anywhere pretty much. So this could be a point of differentiation with sense. So I would say go for it. Experiment with it.
Yeah. We'll definitely be playing with a lot of, like I mentioned with the PDA, is like after we're funded or whatever happens in mid-December, there's going to be a lot of experimentation, a lot of trying to figure out more advanced kind of gameplay stuff and make sure that we're doing stuff that's exciting and interesting, but it also has to be familiar enough to work. Sometimes you can experiment too much and then turn people off completely. And I want things to be hard but fair. I want people to be able to say like, "Oh, right, this is my." I want people to when they die, if they don't save for an hour and they die, they go, "That's on me. It's my fault. I should have been more careful." I don't want them to feel like they got gypped.
So can you protect yourself in any way from the, let's say, evil ghosts that want to kill you? Or do you have to run? Is there any I don't know, you're not going to have a weapon, right? But do you have any protection against them? Or you just have to run?
So there will be protections. Some of them will necessitate running, like for narrative reasons or trying to drive the player to a certain area. You'll have to run sometimes, like protection won't work.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be protections, and they will be items, like finite items.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's all I can say without giving away too much. There is a way to get rid of the ghosts for good. But it's also it's relatively narrative, and it's also like a major gameplay point that I don't want to reveal yet, because it's kind of cool, and it's not like hyper unique. It's one of those things where I want people to experience it and be like, "Ooh, that's a neat thing," and I don't want to just tell anybody. So it's like, you know, there's a specific way you can get rid of at least certain ghosts. I'm not sure about all of them yet. I'm kind of toying with the idea on some of them, but it will be a recurring gameplay element.
Okay, so I'm thinking it's either going to be a mini game where you play Tetris, and if you win, you're gonna make the ghost disappear, or you're gonna call the Ghostbusters. Am I right on any of those?
You're half right on Tetris. It's mahjong. If you win in mahjong, they go away for good.
Dude, well, I'll take that. That's fine. That's good. So talked about Sense a lot. Let's go as far away. Well, not as far away as possible, because it's a cool game. Tell me what else you've been playing while making Sense.
Sadly, not much. I was able to pull my Wii U out of storage, and just I was playing a lot of Fatal Frame 5, a lot of Fatal Frame 4. I did a lot of research playing, like, you know, where you just kind of play 10, 15, 20 minutes of a game just to kind of get a feel for it, of a lot of different stuff. I like tripled my Steam library. Man, I can't even think of anything in particular. It's just a lot of horror games. I was able to get a PlayStation VR before money started drying up, and experiment with a lot of the VR horror games, and things like Don't Knock Twice. That one's pretty fun. Yeah, it's been mostly just experimenting, not playing anything in particular to be like, oh my god, except for Fatal Frame, because those are such huge pacing and gameplay inspirations that I was like, okay, yeah, these are the ones I need to study and pay attention to. And then Clock Tower, of course. I had to replay all of Clock Tower, like all the games, and I had to play through Night Cry, the one by the Clock Tower creator. Which I recommend. If you can get past the first 2 hours of Night Cry, it actually gets really good. It's just really hard to get past those first 2 hours because it's kind of not good. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then for relaxation, sometimes I'll just play whatever the ecchi kind of over the top game of the day is, like Senran Kagura. I'll play that kind of thing. Like I got Peach Beach Slash and played the crap out of that for 30 minutes a night to cool down, and then before I went to bed. Yeah, beyond that, not much. I don't really have a lot of. It's weird, being a game developer. You don't have much time to actually play games. It's kind of
yeah.
It's kind of a welcome reprieve from work. But then usually when I'm kind of a workaholic, so when I finish work for the night, I'm like, oh man, I came up with this idea, and then I have to draw it, or I want to do something with it. So it's hard for me to pull myself away and just not do things. And I did forget one.
Well,
I play Fortnite with my girlfriend a lot. I do play Fortnite.
Oh,
I really
the battle royale or like the regular one?
Just the regular one. I don't like she likes the battle royale. She plays that one. I don't like PvP that much. I like the
everybody.
Yeah, I like the killing the zombies and making a fort. That's the fun part for me.
Yeah, but everyone likes the battle royale. Have you seen? Seriously, the numbers are insane. Like between PUBG, seriously, it's like what happened to the world? Like 2017, it's like everyone wants to be battle royale. It's crazy. It's really crazy how much it's. I think this is like the height, probably, of the genre in terms of player numbers, probably. It's it's crazy.
It can only
it's
go
really
down
crazy,
from
and
here.
more coming out. I'm thinking, well, PUBG is probably going to be still, doing well within its
Yeah,
release.
that game's going to be
because
around
it's not
a while. I don't see it just ending. I see that one slowly tapering off over the next decade. I don't think it's going to ever just go away. It's too ingrained now as a experience.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's like the battle royale genre. It's like the hype right now with it, and everyone's making one. It's like the survival genre a few years ago. Everybody was making one, and then like the shooter, the multiplayer shooter. Like, hey, everyone wants to make a world of Overwatch, and then there's only one Overwatch. So yeah.
I'm actually kind of curious what's going to be next, because it could be a million things. You never know what that next genre is going to be that everybody's going to try to ape, because it was MOBAs for a long time, and they haven't gotten MOBAs right, and I think it depends on how well the first clone of whatever that genre is, that big game is. So like for PUBG, you have the Fortnite clone come out. That solidifies the idea that it can be cloned successfully. With Overwatch, you didn't have that. The only game that tried to ape Overwatch, you had Paladins, you had what was that one by Gearbox that sucked?
Battlegrounds. Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, and it didn't go free to play.
It fell apart, and it mainly because nobody likes Randy Pitchford. But
oh, come on, that's not the reason.
Well, it didn't help. That definitely was
Battleborn.
Yes.
You know what? So if you don't buy a game because of the head of the studio that's making it, you don't get games. It's like, come on.
That's true. Yeah,
you can make it out of principle, but it's like he's not the one making the game. I think it's a little. There's 40 people, 60 people, 80 who probably worked on that. So if it's good, it's good.
And I think one of the problems, like Battleborn, oh my god, they just made every wrong step you could take. They kind of took it, and it's a shame because I know people who worked on it, and I feel they still got jobs, so they're fine for now. But it's like that was just a mistake. It was just a lot of mistakes, and I think that was the thing. That was the first high profile Overwatch clone. And it just didn't take off. It just didn't work. And Paladins was a closer clone, and it's I dare to say it is a better overall game. It has more game modes. It's more fun. The characters are nowhere near as good because you have legendary character designers working on Overwatch that are doing insane work. That are just every piece of Overwatch is designed perfectly, and from a art direction. Whereas Paladins is kind of schizophrenic, and I don't think they know what they want to be. And Paladins is kind of a no-name, free-to-play game on the PC that wasn't paid attention to. So when you have PUBG and you have Fortnite come out by Epic, and it's good, that's where you're going to start to see more of the battle royale clones show up, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens, what the next genre is. Hopefully I can get in on it early. I don't know. I'm hoping.
Well, it's definitely going to be something
multiplayer. If you can get in on those, you're gold.
It's going to be a multiplayer. I don't know what though. That's the thing. Definitely something individualistic to some extent, because you see the pattern, right? With MOBAs, small teams. Very different characters in terms of the gameplay. Go for Overwatch, small teams, very specific characters. Well, it's Battle Royale. It's like everyone's the same, but it's still the individual part. So I'm thinking it's still going to be something of a maybe team-based, but very individualistic in its nature. And multiplayer, definitely, but other than that, I don't know.
It's going to be something along the lines of an MMO. Like, I didn't like the anime very much, but I have a feeling it's going to be something along the lines of like a Sword Art Online kind of thing, you know? Probably with guns, probably still an FPS, but like completely open world, do whatever you want, make squads, don't make squads, kill anybody, don't kill anybody. I have a feeling it's going to be something more that ambiguous. Because that's kind of what it's been working towards. I mean, if you look at the evolution from like CS:GO or CS Source to Pub, it's like in general it's a similar game, gameplay wise. Like it's you know, you have to be smart. You have to take your time and work slow. If you can work with a team and you can really work with the team, you're going to win. If not, you're going to lose fast. And then you have that kind of open world aspect to it. I think it's just going to grow from there because for whatever reason, people like the open world thing they do. And as technology advances, you're going to be able to do that more and more in a bigger way. So that's where I'm thinking. That's what I would put my money on. I'm probably wrong. I've been wrong before about a lot of things. So, but that's where my gut's telling me. It's going to be some kind of MMO shooter thing.
Yeah, just invest in Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, and you'll be fine. 5 years down the line, you'll get your return, no problem.
You never know, because they could completely shit the bed and not do anything with the Overwatch IP. You know, they could, and I hope not. I want more things. Like I want a hack and slash action game about Genji. That'd be cool. Like. I want them to do more things with the Overwatch IP. I don't trust Blizzard to ever deliver on that. They never do.
No,
they always. They'll do the numbered. They'll do Overwatch 2 3 years from now, and there will be an expansion for it, and then it'll be 9 years before the next Overwatch, and they'll do an expansion for that, and then but who knows? Hopefully, I'm wrong about that. Hopefully, they kind of change things up a little bit and start putting new stuff out. They saw how successful they can be by putting a new IP out, you know? So maybe we'll see.
Yeah, but it's Blizzard. It's like when you get to that size, anything you put out is going to be successful. Even if it's not that, I mean, they're really good. The thing is, unless it's really mediocre, it's still going to be successful. Just because of the name.
Their name recognition will get them return, but it depends on how much money they spent on making whatever that is, right? So if they had ever done Project Titan, which became Overwatch, and it wasn't the right thing, you know, maybe it would do what Diablo 3 did, where it just kind of fizzled, and people still play it keeps hanging on, but it's not like raking in cash for them. It's just kind of existing.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't what happened with Overwatch, then they're in trouble and they have to start looking at different ways to do things. Because I mean, I live 5 minutes away from Blizzard's campus, and I'm friends with a lot of people that work there or worked there, and it's like it's a well-known thing that there's dozens of games that have been developed, like gotten pretty far in development at Blizzard over the past 10-15 years that just got canceled. Just dozens of games just gone. So, and like the most high profile one was other than Project Titan is the Nova game, the StarCraft Ghost.
Nova Ghost. Yeah, StarCraft Ghost. Yeah.
So it's like
that was pretty far along too.
Yeah, they were like they had a demo. They were like, and it's kind of a shame because that was one I was really looking forward to. That was like what 2001, 2002. So it's been a long effing time. But that's kind of what happens with a lot of these bigger studios is that they get gun shy. They don't, they know which things will make them money.
It's still better than just working on the same IP all the time. Like looking at, I'd rather have projects be cancelled because something didn't work, right? Then just tell a team, you know what, you're going to do Call of Duty this year and next year and the year after that and the year after that and the year after that. Because that's I mean, I'm sorry, but those people are like I mean, sure, they're paid, but I would look at those teams and be like, they deserve to work on other stuff, just creatively, having people work on the same thing for a long time, the same IP at least, and the same genre. I think it's very brain draining and exhausting, and I'd rather have just toy around with this concept, toy around with this one. If it doesn't work, we'll scrap it, but at least they try something else, because creative people, you can't just have them drone away at one thing all the time. It's not factory work. But yeah, I'm just thinking of the Activision studios. They have 3 now working on Call of Duty. So those 3 are when they go there, it's like, oh, you're gonna work on Call of Duty for how long? You're gonna work on Call of Duty. Just that's it. It's like there's no future. That's it. Yeah.
And I mean, and that's, for some people, that's that's a fine thing. That's what some there's a lot of concept artists that are just, that's what they do. They do photo bash, they do military stuff. And they like doing it and works for them. I have things I like doing. I like characters, but I try to think of different characters all the time, even if it's all a generally military or sci-fi or cyberpunk. I try to do different things. So I kind of understand both ends of it. I understand people that like doing a certain thing, or they specialize. But you're right. You need, as a studio, you need to learn to diversify, and you have to be able to try different stuff. So for me with Suzaku, Sense is the first game I'm going to make, and I want to continue making games within that story. But I also have 3 other games I want to make that are very different things. That are each one is its own little thing. There's some games that are tongue-in-cheek, goofy, funny things, and some games are hyper serious. Trying to tell a really important plot or something. So it's if you can't diversify like that, you're gonna burn your people out too quickly.
Yeah, keep it fresh. Work on something new. That's I think people, a lot of people crave that. Having something new, a new goal, new targets. Always, it's I think it helps. So I don't know, but then again, I'm not the head of studios at Activision Blizzard. So what do I know? It's I would just tell people, yeah, sure, just go ahead, try something else. Maybe if it sticks, it sticks. If not, But then again, I don't have to answer to those pesky shareholders. But yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so
like we said before, they're a business. Their whole thing is profit and making money, and that's good. That's what they need to be doing. That's their job. They have responsibilities. So I don't blame them. I don't blame them for anything they make a decision to do. I get where a lot of it comes from. I get. I grew up in a relatively, definitely not as bad as communist Romania, but I grew up lower middle class, poor family, or mostly poor family, and my mom was a small business owner, so I guess I've always had that kind of understanding of okay, you got to make money. You need money because you got responsibilities. It's not for the love of money or for greed, just to have a bunch of money. It's right. You need that money to do things you have to do, that you have a responsibility to do. And that means sometimes you have to make tough decisions that you don't like, and you go, okay, this sucks. I don't like doing this, but I've got to do it. I've worked some jobs that I hated doing for a lot longer than I should have done them, but you got bills to pay, so you do it. You suck it up and you make it work. And who knows, maybe in a month or two I'll be at Starbucks making coffee. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Okay, for anyone listening,
don't make me go to Starbucks.
If you don't want
I
Ben,
really don't want to.
If you don't want Ben if you don't want to say, okay, Ben, can you get me grande, whatever? I don't know. I've never had anything from Starbucks because I am actually conscious with my money and I'm not spending shit on expensive crap that's not worth it. That's my deal. Starbucks.
I need to learn.
Then. It just, what? again, well, technically, like you, I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so the money that I made, a lot of it I saved, and I'm pretty careful. If I don't need something specifically, and I can justify it in a rational and long-term way, I'm not going to invest in it. Basically, that's why I have a freaking phone for 4 years. Oh, if you want to support me and to get a new phone, never mind. Okay. You don't need to support me. If you don't want Ben to work at Starbucks, you can support us both. Just Ben first, and then
we both need
me.
it.
I'll find a way. I'll find a way. But right now, and I know this is a joke, but seriously, the Kickstarter is on. It's $18,000. It's not a large sum. I don't think it's one of the lower sums for Kickstarter, and this is a project that's not that far from release, right? You said around August 2018 for release.
Yeah, we're thinking
projected.
What is that? Quarter three? Definitely before autumn. Sometime late summer or early fall at the latest. I'm hoping for an 8-month dev cycle. Unless the only thing that would make the dev cycle longer is if we get those stretch goals of like the added chapters and stuff. So yeah, August is a pretty fair time. That's when we were planning.
Okay, so Quake 3, that's Quake 3. No, not Quake 3. Jesus, Quake 3. Why would I say Quake 3? Anyway, never mind. It's 99 for anyone who remembers that.
I could go play Quake 3.
You know what? I was more of an Unreal Tournament guy. Pretty much anyone I knew were more. Oh, it's super fun. It's just like Quake Champions except better. Well, I'm kidding. I played a little bit of Quake Champions. It's not that bad.
What was Unreal Tournament 2K
2014? 2004? Yeah, that was the better one. 2K3 was bad. Was worse than. Yeah, 2004 was good and the original was one. But so Q3 2018, that's not that far. So you have a demo out, you can try it if you like it. At least $20 will get you a copy of the game, and if you want to provide more feedback and have a more involved, let's say, role in the development, then at least $30 will get you early access to builds, so you can give Ben direct feedback, like what you like, what you didn't like, if you want the boobs to bounce even more, if you want them bigger, if you want them rounder, all of that stuff, and also serious things. So again, check out the link in the description below if you want to pledge. Anything else that we should know? Spoilers. Come on, spoilers. I'm kidding. No spoilers.
Well, if you've got the cash, the $750 tier, you actually get to be in the game as an NPC, so there's that. That's cool too. Or a ghost. You could be a ghost or an NPC.
Wait. So. Oh, you can choose if you like an actual human or a ghost.
Mm-hmm. The ghost, the NPCs would be just like quick things. So for the ghost, you'd be one of the Shinrai spots, like the background ones, and then for the NPC, you'd just be somebody on the street that you get to talk to real quick. But it's still, you get to be an animated character in the game, which is cool. So, anybody that wants to drop $750, I expect all of you to do that. We've got 13 days.
Actually,
let's go. Come on.
That is quite enticing because, just put a ghost in there. You're a ghost and you have to burn, I don't know, whatever something you don't like. So just put $750. Okay, pledge $750 and then tell Ben, you know what? I want to be a ghost, and for me to go away to, my happy place, hell in this case, would be the player would have to find a iPhone X and burn it or something like that. Just find something, or a Note 7 that actually burns on itself. You don't even have to burn it.
Yeah,
you don't have to put it there. And
it just blows up in your face. Hey, maybe that's why you died. It blew up in your face.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how you find peace, by sacrificing a Note 7. So that's actually really cool because being in a game, do people get to if people pledge? Is there going to be like a list in the credits, something like that?
Yeah, we'll have
of
course we'll do the backers credits. There's also I don't know we set it up after the Kickstarter is successful, but there's going to be a backers forum. I think that's done through Kickstarter.
Okay.
But yeah, so we'll have the backers forum, we'll have the backers credits in the game. Yeah, we're doing the typical thing, and then we're going to go above and beyond with the physical goods and stuff like that. We've got some physical goods to announce this week, and I'll have a design for one of them. I think it's Monday or Tuesday is when we're doing our next update, so you'll see it then.
And the demo, because I know you said an updated demo. What's
updated demo is hopefully sometime this week. Tom and I are working on it tonight and tomorrow, it should be up sometime early this week. I don't want to say a specific day. It'll be whatever day we do the update, and we'll give you guys notices on Twitter and Facebook and stuff when it's coming down the pipe.
Okay, so demo coming, bouncy fake breasts as physical rewards.
That is a good idea. I don't mind that idea.
I mean, you can throw in like a May sex doll in there, and put like $5,000 for it. You will find an old guy who would buy that. I'm just saying. A robot.
Well, that's an idea. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I'll have to do some research and some R&D and figure out how we can make that happen.
Yeah, try justify that to your fiance. I'm doing R&D. Yeah, no.
She already said no to the hugging pillow idea, so
What? Wait, not even as a reward for the backers who give 200 at least, or something?
Oh no, for me. No, for me. She was like, "You can't do that." And I was like, "Damn it, you're right." So, but there might be a hugging pillow. I guess you guys will have to find out. I guess sometime this week we'll be announcing.
More updates coming up next week. That's the most important thing. Where can people find you? On the
Twitter,
webs?
at Project Sense Dev, one word. Facebook is the Sense of Cyberpunk Ghost Story, and then my Twitter. Or no, my Twitch. My Twitter's boring and stupid. I don't really use it. My personal one. My Twitch is Bullet Bikini. BULLIT BIKI.
Oh, come on, really? Okay, when did you make this one? When did you make this on Bullet Bikini?
Oh that's been my game handle for holy 10
since the 90s. Since the 90s.
98 maybe, yeah.
Wow,
sometime around there.
Okay.
I was playing Counter-Strike 1 with that handle. So, yeah, it's been a long time.
And
Counter-Strike
and he pretends to be a girl, so people will be nicer to you?
Yeah. That was before voice chat, so yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, back then, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people who did that back then.
Be nice to me, boys. And then in WoW, I played WoW very briefly. I never made it past level 20-something. And, I would get free stuff all the time by being a hot blood elf. It was awesome. I miss it. Nice. I miss being able to trick people. But now I have this deep baritone that I can't hide anymore.
Well... Female privilege. What can we say? It's only a thing in the virtual world, apparently. Not in the real world. Only in the virtual world. Yeah,
we aren't allowed to talk about that.
Exactly. Well, thanks Ben for being here for so long. It's been like 2 hours? Wow.
I have it clocked at 4, but that's because we talked for like an hour and a half before the thing. So.
Yeah. So this is 3 hours. So yeah, this. You definitely deserve a little rewards on that. So for anyone watching, please go to Kickstarter. There's a link in the description. As always, pledge at least $20. Let's get this rolling, because I mean, you want to see those costumes. No matter if you're a guy or a woman, you want to see May in all her costumes. Come on. Even if her breasts are going to be,
There are 12.
Yeah, see, exactly. 12 costumes for 12 months. Just imagine what you can do. As a guy, as a girl, you can do the same thing.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah, 12 months. You can choose a different image every month. You can make a calendar.
That's I can say nothing. I can say confirm nor deny nothing else.
Okay, so confirmed. There's going to be a 2018 mail-in sexy calendar that you can get for a pledge of at least $50. Just check out the Kickstarter, pledge, and enjoy every month.
Yeah.
Thanks again everyone for watching.
Thank you very much. Thank you everybody for watching.
And for everyone, just like this live stream for more, usually, just so subscribe to see more content. Check out the back catalog, almost 1,200 videos. I can't believe I made 1,200 videos, it's crazy. And if you want to support me, tell everyone about the channel, everyone who's interested in PC gaming, even remotely. I cover a lot of stuff, so you'll definitely find something that you like on the channel. I mostly cover indie games, but a large variety of them, so a grand variety, so it's all diversity here. I'm the chief diversity officer here. Thanks again everyone for watching, and until the next time we see each other, have an awesome weekend.